Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the NFT DROP DAPP build. In this video, we're going to build your first Web3 decentralized app in just 3 hours. Let's get into this. So in today's build, you're going to build the following features. You're going to learn how to create and release your first ever NFT drop collection. So you're going to be releasing your own smart contract using the Thirdweb platform. You're going to implement the functionality to allow users to mint their first ever NFTs, and it's even going to be visible on OpenSea, the world's largest NFT marketplace. We're going to have full authentication using MetaMask, so your users are going to be able to log in and log out with their crypto wallets. You're going to learn how to implement React hot toast notifications so they nicely pop up when important things are happening in your app, and you're going to learn how to add silky smooth animations to today's build. You'll even learn how to add in the Sanity content platform CMS, which is going to be responsible for updating your website even once after it's deployed. And to test things off, once you've deployed your smart contract, you're going to be able to test it using the Rinkeyby Ethereum test network. You can also test it on any other different test networks supported by Thirdweb. Once we've gone ahead and built our app, we're going to go ahead and deploy it using Vercel, the Next.js platform. So let's dive right into the tech stack that we're covering today. We're going to be using Thirdweb to power and essentially release our NFT drop collection smart contract. This is going to be a perfect opportunity to polish up your ReactJS skills, and we're actually going to be using the framework known as Next.js to make our app super efficient and optimized. To make the app responsive, we're going to be using Tailwind CSS, so get ready to build a beautiful looking website. Sanity is going to be used to power the CMS portion of today's build, so once it's deployed, developers and non-developers can come onto that platform and actually update the contents of the website. And if you didn't think that was enough, we're throwing in TypeScript, so your code is going to be extremely robust and going to be prone to less errors, as we're going to be type checking our code in today's build. And finally, we're going to be handling our authentication with MetaMask and deploying with Vercel. Before we jump into today's video, make sure you like and subscribe, as loads of you are watching right now who actually haven't subscribed to the channel. What? Without further ado, let's jump into today's video. But before we jump into today's video, this build wouldn't be possible without our amazing friends over at Thirdweb. Thirdweb allows you to build a full Web3 ecosystem. It's an incredible platform. I've used it for a while now, and this is why I'm bringing it to you guys at the forefront of today's build. With their easy to use dashboard, you can deploy Web3 features such as NFT collections, NFT drop, marketplaces, tokens, voting contracts such as DAOs, royalty splits, and even NFT packs like we're going to be dropping in today's video. You can use their SDKs, their code snippets, and even their widgets to go ahead and put their features into your app with ease. They support all the major programming languages, JavaScript, Python, Go, and so forth. And most importantly, when you deploy your smart contracts with Thirdweb, you're deploying them with your wallet. This means that you retain 100% ownership of the contracts that you're deploying out there into the blockchain. Since their launch, over 35,000 contracts have been released. Trust me, it's tried and tested, it works well, which is why I've made it the primary reason we're using it today. And the best part is that Thirdweb just dropped V2, which means that they've just released a bunch of new features. The most importantly, it is now completely free to use. That means any money that you're making with your NFT drops or any of the stuff that you're doing with their platform, it's completely free to use. The only fees that you're going to be paying are the gas fees associated with any of the blockchains that you're going to be deploying to. There's also a revamped dashboard, so a better user experience for anyone who's going onto the online platform, and they've updated the SDKs, which means all of us developers are in a happy place. With that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's video to prove just how powerful Thirdweb really are. Make sure you visit the first link in the description. It will support the Papa Fam as you go ahead and sign up to Thirdweb, so we appreciate that. Now let's get into the fun stuff. This is your boy Sunny. Enjoy today's video. So if you don't know already, I'm going to teach you how to create your own NFT drop collection, right? So you're literally going to have an amazing responsive UI, and you're literally going to be able to sign in with MetaMask. So I'm going to click sign in right now. You can see I can sign in with a wallet. So I'm going to click on a wallet, go ahead and click next. I'm going to connect. As you can see, I've signed in. It loads up the available supply in the NFT drop collection. This is all real, by the way. There's no make do here. This is a real NFT drop collection on the Ethereum blockchain. No joke. And I'm going to show you how to do everything. right? So check this out. We've got 12 of 21. I'm going to click on mint NFTs. And as you can see here, I've got minting an NFT. So in a second, you're going to see something pop up on the screen, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a full screen breakdown right now. So you should be able to see in a second, we get a nice little pop-up, right? And it goes ahead and says, this NFT costs 0.01 ETH. Don't worry, by the way, this is on the Rinkeyby test network. So I'm going to show you how you can actually fund yourself for absolutely free, and then you can actually test this out yourself. So we got 0.01 ETH, click confirm, and it's going to go ahead and mint our NFT, right? I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the bottom of the screen. You guys can see this right now. Check that out, right? In just a second, this is literally going through the actual blockchain right now, and this is going to mint me an NFT. And what's actually happening here is that my wallet, so the one associated with Sunny Sangha, is minting an NFT, a one-of-one NFT from this project. And I'm actually going to be able to see it on OpenSea. So right now, this is what my OpenSea looks like. So this is the marketplace for NFTs. And as you can see, we successfully minted. Awesome stuff. So check this out, guys. When I refresh this page, I should see one more, number 12, Papa Fam 8. And wait for it. It's going to be in here. It's going to be in here. Am I in the correct wallet? I sure am. There we go. Let's check. Papa Fam. Oh, I'm in the wrong wallet. There we go. That's why. Let me log into the correct wallet. Let's go into my other wallet. So boom, going into that wallet now. Refresh. And let's see if it's come inside of my wallet. There we go. Papa Fam number 12. Bam. Officially minted into my NFT supply. Right, so that's literally actually working. This all gets powered by our amazing guys over at Thirdweb. So I'm going to teach you how to create your first ever NFT drop. And the whole thing is powered by Sanity backend. So you can see we've got our Sanity powering all of this. Okay? So first thing we're going to do is set up a project, right? So we're going to set up a Next.js project. So this is what we're going to build, and I'm going to show you how to go from literally absolutely not knowing what to do to absolutely crushing this thing, right? So first thing you want to do is head over to Tailwind.css.com, right? So tailwindcss.com, and basically you can find this page by simply typing in Tailwind CSS space Next.js, right? So literally you can type in Tailwind CSS Next.js and this thing will pop up, and basically it's a quick start guide, right? It's really awesome. It's a nice little handy template, and what you want to do is, you see this link at the top, right? Is that the one? No, that's not the one. It's the GitHub. That's not that one. Go down here. It's this one, install Next.js with Tailwind, this one right here, right? So this is the command you're gonna need. npx create Next app, and then what we're doing here is we're using something called a template. Now this template is basically gonna go ahead, this music's well distracting, we'll change it to a different one, right? We're gonna use this template, which basically says, set up a Next.js app for us, a starter project, but set it up with Tailwind. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this. The final bit at the end is simply the name of your project. So feel free at this point to name it whatever the hell you want, all right? So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to open up my terminal, and I'm going to go ahead and make it nice and big for you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and paste this in, right? Now, what I'm going to do here is change my project to actually something a bit more meaningful. So in this case, we're going to say NFT challenge. Yeah, NFT challenge, right? And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. What this will now do is it will go ahead and it will ask you, do you want to install? Say yes by hitting the Y key and hitting enter. This is going to go ahead and set up our first Next.js project, okay? So this is going to basically do its thing. It's going to go ahead and download all the dependencies. And as I mentioned before, if you get stuck at any of these points, use the community to ask questions. Use the community to overcome those problems, okay? Now, while that's happening, I'm going to show you a few other things that we're going to need to do. So open up a tab in Chrome and head over to docs.thirdweb.com/react. All right, so this is the website that you're going to want to go to, docs.thirdweb.com/react, right? So get this page ready. And this page is essentially going to be the SDK that we're going to use to connect to Thirdweb and all of its services. Now, what does that mean? It means that when we have that nice little MetaMask login feature, so when we log into our application, it's going to allow us to go ahead and really nicely implement a small bit of code with a lot of power behind it. And that's basically going to allow us to use the login, logout functionality associated with the MetaMask part of the app. Okay, so let's go ahead and check on our app. Awesome stuff. You can see success. Everything's done. So you should get this right here afterwards, right? So what you want to do then is you need to go into that directory. So we type in cd nft-challenge and we hit enter. And now you can see I'm in that directory, and I'm going to go ahead and type in code dot, right? Now at this point, if code dot doesn't work for you, the way to get that working, okay, is you want to go ahead and do Command Shift P inside of VS Code and type in shell, right? And you should get this install. Yours will say install code. I've got the insider edition, but yours will say install code command in path. Then you can do that. If you can't do that or you don't want to do that, simply go to open folder and find the folder that you just set up your project in. So in this case, it's over here, NFT challenge, okay? Once you've done that, you're going to get to this page. Okay, so we're looking pretty good at this point. All right, so at this point, we've got the get started, guys. We don't need that. We can close that out. Now, this is the starter point when you basically get started with a Next.js project. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you guys. I'm going to quickly give a brief explanation as to what's going on over here, right? If you go into pages, this is where all of the sort of pages for your application will exist. In Next.js, they have something called a built-in router. This means that when we have several pages on our website, all we have to do is create a file with the page root name. Right, so in this case, the home page would be known as index.tsx. So this is the starting point. We can ignore that for now. Index.tsx is where everything's going to basically get started. And as you can see, we are using TypeScript, right? We're actually using TypeScript right now. So over here, we can go ahead and see const home equals next page. You don't need to worry too much about what's going on here, but basically what this is doing is we're basically rendering something called a functional component. And this is returning a bunch of HTML and CSS and JavaScript. It's called JSX back to us. So I want to run this run this app now. So how do I do that? Command J, go to my terminal. And all I need to do is basically, if I do Command B, I'm going to have a look here and I can see yarn.lock. So I'm going to be using yarn today. But if you see a package.lock file, then you can be using npm, right? It's okay, whichever one you use. In this case, I'm going to type in yarn run dev. And what this will do is it will start my app up in the developer mode, okay? I actually have an app running, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel my app right now. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start it up on a separate port. You guys will are able to run it on 3000. I'm going to do it on 3001 because I've got my other app running because I want to use that as a demo. And you should get this screen here. So if it's not TSX, then you're going to have to install TSX. But in that case, you probably messed up starting up, right? But make sure you follow exactly as I started up. All right, so with that said now, we're going to go ahead and basically clear this screen out. So I'm going to push this on the side, push this over here, Command J to have my terminal. And I'm going to make everything a bit smaller so you can see, right? The resolution on this video is quite high, so it's not too bad. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and delete everything inside of main. So all the way down to the closing main. And as you can see, if I do that, I'm going to get rid of everything except the footer. So I want to get rid of the footer as well. Right, so now you can see it's all gone. Everything's gone and cleared up. Now, what is this head component? This is a special head component. And what this does is it allows us to inject HTML into the head of the document. So what I can do here is I can go ahead and change this to, if you can see over here, it says create React app. So if I go ahead and hover over here, it says create next app right here, right? Create next app, sorry. So here I can change this to NFT drop. And as you can see now, it will say NFT drop in the top corner. Right, and this little logo right there, you can change the favia icon if you really want to. Right, I'm not going to show you how to. It's up to you if you want to do that. But right now, these styles over here is what centers everything. So this is just Tailwind CSS styling that's going and getting thrown in there, right? Right. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and clear out everything. Right. So I don't want any styling. I don't want anything here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Right. All I want you to do is type in H1 and type in welcome to the NFT drop challenge. Okay, hit enter, and now you should see a very simple welcome to the NFT drop challenge pop up. Now I'm going to give you a quick breakdown as to what Tailwind CSS is and how it works. Right, so Tailwind CSS is basically a really awesome way of writing our CSS in a fast and honestly productive manner. Right, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to use Tailwind CSS. So if I type in class name, I can start writing CSS in here with Tailwind. Now, the way we do that is if I want to change the Tailwind, the color of the text, right? And I would recommend before you do any of this, head over to your extensions tab, type in Tailwind and install this extension right here, Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. This is going to allow you to have all of the sort of nice kind of autocomplete suggestions when you're getting started, okay? So in this case, I'm going to type in text, let's just say red. And as you can see, if I do control spacebar, I can see loads of different shades of red. So this is a beautiful little example. I hit this, enter, and I hit save. Now the text turned red. So literally, if I hover over this, you can see this translates to this CSS. So what we call this is basically the short version is called a utility class. And then what it goes ahead and actually translates to is this. So you can always see what it will translate to, right? Now, what if I want to make the text bigger? I can go ahead and do something like this. I can say text 4XL. And as you can see, boom, we get 4XL. What if I want to make it bold? Well, now I can go ahead and say font, and I can go down here and say bold. Bam, now it's bold. You can see the benefit, right? This literally works across everything. It works with Flexbox, all this other stuff. So whenever you see me typing class names into our HTML elements, this is what I'm doing, okay? So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the first portion. Now, as you can see, if I go over to the main application, right, what we have on the home screen is a, let me go ahead and load it up. We have this, right? And I'm going to show you this tomorrow, but basically this is the home screen, right? But we're not going to focus on this today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click into one of the collections I have. And as you can see, the root says something like this, right? I'm going to go ahead and actually paste this into here. So the root says something like http:/localhost 3000, so that's when my app's running, /NFT / the collection name, so Papa Fam Apes, right? So how do I get a URL like this, NFT / Papa Fam Apes, right? Well, the way you can do this in a very easy manner with Next.js is you basically go ahead to your folder structure and you go inside your pages. You can ignore the API, we're not going to be using that right now. You go to index and basically click on add a new file, right? Now at this point, if I'm just going to show you an example of something, right? If I go ahead and create a file called, let's call it search.tsx, right? And I'm going to use something called a snippet here. So I'm going to show you how to get these. If you want the snippets that I'm about to use, then make sure you go to your extensions and download this beautiful extension right here. ES7 React Redux snippets, right? So all of this stuff. So at this point, install this. And if here, you can type in RFCE. Oops, RFCE. This basically gives me a template, right? This gives me a template for going ahead and getting started, right? So you can see I've got a search page here now. Now you're probably wondering, okay, I'm following along, but what have you just done? Like, what was the point of that? Well, now if I go to /search and hit enter, you can see the search. Now, if I type in search page, boom, there you go, right? So we've literally created a page just by creating a file. So it's very easy, right? So let's go ahead and actually create the NFT routing part, right? So at this point, I'm going to create a folder and I'm going to go ahead and say NFT, right? So what I'm doing is I'm creating the first part of the route. Now for the second part of the route, I want it to be a wild card because it might be Papa Fam Apes, it might be Cyberpunks, it might be all these kind of crazy different names. So the way I basically go ahead and have it so that I can have something like this, I can have /NFT / you know, Papa Fam Apes or something like that, right? I want to have whatever I want here. It could be something like Cyberpunks or something like that, or Astroheads, whatever the case, right? What I do here now is I go into this folder, I create a new file, and I go ahead and I put these square brackets and I say ID, and then outside the brackets .tsx. So what this is saying is it will be /NFT / a wild card. So that brackets there can be anything. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to type in RFCE, and here you have to be careful, right? I'm going to basically go ahead and change this to, let's call this one the NFT drop page. Okay, so this is going to be the NFT drop page. And what am I talking about here? Well, I'm actually talking about this. This is called an NFT drop page, right? So at this point, we've got the page getting set up. So now if you can say this is the NFT drop page. So let's test this out. If we go to /NFT / Papa Fam Apes, and I go see, now we can see this is the NFT drop page. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and actually start building this page out, right? And again, it's going to be a responsive page. You can see here on small screens, it looks like this, and on the large screens, it looks like this, right? So what we're going to now do is basically start laying this out, right? So what I'm going to do is basically go ahead and start off with, let's kind of use this as a base, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pop this on the next screen over here. I'm going to close this up. So now I can go ahead and efficiently code. Right, so we're going to go back and forth like this. So the left-hand side is what I'm going to be building first, right? So what I'm going to do is basically split my page up. okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and basically do something I like to do. You guys know I like to do this. I'm gonna basically just start putting comments here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and say something like left side of the screen is gonna go here. So this is gonna be a div that represents the left side of the screen. Then I'm gonna have the right side of the screen. So I'm gonna have a div that goes over here. So I've got my left, I've got my right, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have the stuff inside of the right, so you know, like all of this stuff, I'm gonna have something else. But let's get started off with the left side of the screen. This is where the picture is, this is where all that good stuff is. So first thing I wanna do here is I wanna have, I'm gonna have a div, so another div inside of here, right? And that's because basically what I wanna do is I wanna center all the elements inside of here, okay? So the first thing I want to do is for this one, I want to give it a background color. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to say background. Oh, oops, class name. Sorry, class name. I'm going to say background should be a gradient. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, I think. Yeah, because that way you guys can see what's going on. I'm going to say background gradient. Okay, and this is going to be to bottom right. Okay, and what you can do here is you can pick a from color. So I'm going to say from cyan 800 to rose 500. And if I go ahead and hit enter now, you can see that nothing came up. And you're probably wondering, well, that's useless, right? So this is because our overall div doesn't have any value, right? It hasn't got any height constraints or anything like that. So in the outer div, what I need to do is I'm going to say this is a flexbox, right? And if you don't know flexbox, don't know all that stuff, this is not going to be a video where I explain flexbox. But if you want to join more, join Zero to Full Stack Hero or check out Flexbox Froggy, amazing game online, right? So go ahead and type in flex, type in height of screen. So I'm going to say the minimum height of this should be the height of the screen. And I'm going to say it's flex column, okay? Flex column. And what we're going to do now, as you can see at this point, we still don't see anything, right? So on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm just going to put a H1 here saying hello. And you can see, there we go, right? It's because we had nothing inside there. But you can see already I've got some form of a gradient happening, right? So you can see we're slowly getting to where we want to get to, right? So inside of this div now, what I want to do is I want to create an image, right? And this image is going to go ahead and have a picture of an ape inside of it, right? Remember, take your time with this stuff. Don't rush it. It's completely fine. I've gone ahead and simplified the picture part for you. So what we're actually going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of this ape. So I've got the picture over here somewhere. Where is it? Over here. So I'm going to grab that. So image source is going to be a picture of an ape. So links.papareact.com/8sg. So I've made your life easy. This is a massive picture of an ape right now. Okay. Now, obviously that's not what we want, but you can see where we're going with this, right? So what I want to do is I want to give this a bit of styling, right? So I'm going to go ahead and change this ape so it looks a bit nicer than what we're seeing right now. I'm going to firstly give it a class name so I can start styling the image. I'm going to say a width of 44. And then you can see we get to a smaller size now, okay? I'm going to say that this should have rounded corners, so rounded XL. It should be object cover, so object cover. So that way, if it ever gets smaller, it's going to go ahead and be able to do its thing, right? Now, what I want to do is, you can see that that's actually the size of the picture when it's small. So I need to explain something about Tailwind CSS. Everything I write on Tailwind CSS is mobile first. So all of the rules that you're seeing right now, they get applied from the smallest size upward, right? We only apply to bigger screen sizes if I introduce something called breakpoints, right? So I'm going to explain this and show you how this works, right? But this is how we build responsive apps, okay? So as you can see here, I'm not using the next image component right now because we can't actually predict the URL here. But once we've actually gone ahead and set up Sanity, you can whitelist the Sanity host name. So you can whitelist this name and then you can use it. So feel free as part of the challenge to do that, right? But that's the reasoning, Louise. Okay, so you can see mobile first, right? So this is always going to be applied, these styles. But what I want to do is on a large screen, I want to apply a bigger height and width. So you can see over here, it's quite big, right? So the way I do it is I go ahead and say large. So you've got small, you've got medium, you've got large and so forth. I say large colon. And then what I do is I type in height of 96. And on the large screen, I want to also change the width of 72. Okay, so now you can see on a small screen, it stays small, okay? But on a large screen, bam, can you see that? It changed. right? So on small screens, it's here. On large screens, it changes. So now we can start getting the nice responsive UI. There we go, right? So this is the introduction to responsive design. Okay, so that's looking pretty neat at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that as an example. Okay, now what I wanna do is I wanna go ahead and have some text under it. So I wanna have Papa Fam Apes, a collection of apes who live and breathe React, okay? So at this point, what I can do is I'm gonna go ahead and have underneath this image, so let's go ahead and pop a div under it. Inside of here, I'm gonna have a H1, and I'm gonna have a H2 afterwards. And this is basically, the first one's gonna say Papa Fam Apes. Right now it's static information, right? And then tomorrow we're gonna introduce Sanity CMS, right? So over here, I'm gonna put a H2, and I'm gonna go ahead and let me know if you're coding along right now. I'm gonna copy this. So a collection of apes, douche, pop it in there. And as you can see now, I've got Papa Fam Apes, a collection of Papa Fam Apes who live and breathe React. So I'm gonna need to make this get to this, right? And I want to center it, do all that cool stuff. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing we're going to style is the H1. So H1, I'm going to say text for Excel, right? Text for Excel. And as you can see, Papa Fam Apes changed to a bigger size, right? I'm going to now say the font should be bold. So font bold. And I'm going to say the text should be white. You can see the reason why I love Tailwind, right? It's so clean. On the H2, we're going to type in class name, and I'm going to say the text should be extra large, but I want this one to be a gray color, and I want it to be a shade of 300. That's what I'm talking about, guys. So you can see now we've got the right fonts, right? Now there's a difference here, right? Can you see, can anyone notice between this ape and this ape? Right, so over here, this one's got a nice little gradient behind it. So I'm going to show you a little trick now, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show you how we get that nice little gradient around it. So this image element, right? I'm going to surround it in a div, okay? I'm going to surround it in a div, right? So watch this. I wonder if someone can beat me to it, right? So I've got my div here. So now the div is essentially wrapping or surrounding the image tag, okay? Right, so class name over here, I'm going to go ahead and change it. I'm going to say that this should be a background gradient to the bottom right, and it's going to go from a color which is yellow, I'm going to say a shade of 400, to purple, right, to purple, which is 600. Okay, now you can see, boom, I get this behind, but that doesn't look right. Okay, it's not exactly what I wanted. So at this point, what I now do is I'm gonna go ahead and go to the outer container, and what we need to actually establish here is some rules for the overall container surrounding these two things. So I need to say it's a flex box, right? Flex will use up minimal storage, and what flex by nature does is it puts the items, which are basically this child and this child, next to each other. It puts them in a row. Okay, flex, and what we're gonna say is I'm gonna say flex column. So I'm gonna push it back into a column. Okay, now at this point, I'm gonna say everything should be centered. I don't like it looking like this, right? I'm gonna say items should be on the center. So as soon as I do that, bam, it centers. And notice how it's conservative with its space, right? So it's conservative with its space. It doesn't now span everything. I'm gonna say we should also justify center, right? So that's gonna basically center everything on the other axis. Now here I'm gonna say padding Y. So padding on the Y axis of 2. So you can see now that I introduced a little gap on the Y axis. And then I'm gonna go ahead and say, on a large screen, I want the minimum height of this container to be the height of the screen. Okay, so now notice on this mobile view, this is fine, but I want it to take up the minimum height of the screen on a mobile, on a large screen. So you guys can see how that works. So on a large screen, it takes up the minimum height has to be applied, but otherwise it's a mobile view. Okay. So at this point, we're going to carry on with what we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller so you can see it. So we've got a few things which aren't right here. Okay. The first obvious one is that this picture doesn't actually have the border that we're kind of looking at, right? So I'm going to go back to that, and I'm going to say it needs a padding of 2. Now you can see, oh, we're starting to get there, right? If we give it a padding, you can see on the inside, now we've got some padding around it, but the edges aren't rounded. So I need to add in one more addition, which says rounded XL. Hit save, and what it's doing is auto formatting. That's why it might just move around. Now look at that, awesome stuff. Look how clean that looks, guys. Already looking pretty nice. Okay, so we're going pretty at a good pace right now. Okay, so what I want you to now do is go ahead and firstly smash the like button if you're enjoying this, right? Because this is looking pretty damn awesome already, right? What I'm going to do is go to our div, which is surrounding our H1 and our H2. What I want to do here is give it a class name. So start styling. I'm going to say the text should be center. Right now you can see everything kind of flies into the middle. I'm going to give the entire box a padding of 5. Right, so you can see that gives it a bit more spacing so it can breathe a little bit. And you see these children, right? You see between them on the y-axis, I want to have a bit of space. So what you can do with Tailwind, which is really nice, is you can say space y of 2. Okay, now you can see that actually spaced it out. So if I was to give that like space y6, you can see it's a bit greater. So space y of 2, nice kind of mid spot, right? So now you can see, bam, that's looking really, really beautiful. Okay, so at this point we've got the Papa Fam apes, like the beginning portion, pretty damn good, right? It's pretty damn nice, right? So what I now want to do is I want to basically go ahead and change the layout when it goes onto a big screen. So I don't want this to take up my entire screen, right? I want to have it as a split. I want to have this. So what I'm actually going to show you guys is something called CSS Grid. Now CSS Grid basically can be set up in a way where you can say, I want 10 columns, right? And I want this area to take up 4 columns, and I want this area to take up 6 columns. So if we literally take that exact example and we look at it here, imagine this entire page is 10 columns, and this section over here is 4 columns, and this section over here is 6 columns, right? What it will then do is it will go ahead and distribute that space as I resize. Then when it hits the sort of, you know, the smaller screen, it changes back to flex. Right, so on the large screen we go to grid, on the small screen we go to flex. Large screen grid or small screen flex. Oh, tongue twister, right? So you can see what's going on here, yeah? So at this point, and don't worry, we're gonna make it super easy, okay? So the way we do this is we simply go to the large breakpoint and we say, when we hit a large screen, I wanna change it to a grid layout instead of the default flex, because remember, these are mobile first. When we hit large, change it to a grid. And I'm also gonna say that we're gonna go ahead and say that this grid should have 10 columns. Okay, so you should have 10 columns. Now, if I go ahead and do this full screen now, you can see what it's naturally done here is it's put the first child in 1 column because it's trying to be conservative. Okay, so I need to tell it you can use up 4 columns. Okay, so you can use up 4 columns, that's okay. So the way I do that is I go to my left container over here, the div which is next to the left container, and I go over and I say that on a large screen, I want to do column span. So span across 4 columns. Okay, so if I hit save now, you see it just reformatted, so it pushed it to the end to make it neater. Now you can see, bam, it takes up 4 of the columns. And look what happens, guys. That grid is only getting applied on the large screen size, and then pop, it goes into flex column. Right, so this is looking pretty sick right now, right? So you've got a flex view over here, and then we've got our grid view over here. Okay, so we've got the left section down. What I'm gonna do now is on the right hand side is I'm gonna go ahead and create this top section over here, create this middle section, and this nice little mint button. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do this right now. So inside the right hand side section, I want to firstly sort of separate it into different parts, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say the first bit is going to be the header. So this is going to resemble, I'm now doing the right hand side section, okay? So when I say right hand side, this is literally it. So on the right hand side, where we've got the header, I'm going to basically go ahead and do this. We've got the header here, and I'm going to go ahead and also say the content. Now the header refers to this bit, the content refers to this bit, okay? So let me see if I got my pen. Ah, there we go, we want my nice little pen. So this is going to be the content, and this bit is the header, okay? So content is going to be over here, header is over here, and then we've got a nice little button over here, okay? Excuse that, I'm freehanding it right now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is this nice little header over here. So let's deal with that first. And let's create another little placeholder for now, which is the mint button. Okay, you see, when you comment things out, it actually makes the whole thing easier because your mind isn't going crazy like, where am I at right now? It just goes there and you can just digest it as you want to take your time, right? So for the header, I'm going to introduce a div, right? You could even use a header over here, right? You could, if you want to use a header, you can use a header element. That's completely fine. It just makes it more SEO friendly. So at this point, I've got my header, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say it's a H1, right? And this is going to say the Papa Fam NFT marketplace. Okay, hit save, and now you can see the Papa Fam NFT marketplace. Awesome, looks pretty okay, I guess. Right, and that's basically going to resemble this bit. Okay, and then next to this H1 component, I'm going to have a button, and this button is going to say sign in. Okay, so sign in. right? So you can see that's a button, and what a Tailwind likes to do is it likes to strip all the styling off of it, right? So the first thing I want to style is the H1. So I'm going to say class name. I'm going to give it a set height of 52. So that way on the small screen, it will just wrap around. I'm going to give it a cursor pointer. So that way when we highlight over it, it's actually going to give me a sort of a very nice, width of 52, not height, width of 52. I was wondering why it pushed down. So now you can see it wraps on the small screen, but on the bigger screen, it will give it enough space to go ahead and spread out, right? We'll fix that afterwards, that's fine. So width of 52, and then I'm going to say cursor pointer. So now you can see my cursor changes to a pointer when I go over it. Then I'm going to change it to a text XL, right? Text XL. And then I'm going to say that its font should be extra light. And I want on the small screen, I'm going to change it to a width of 80. Okay. So basically what I'm doing here, right? So this may be a bit confusing. Remember, this is mobile view. And then mobile view is not small view. Mobile view is a mobile view. This is mobile view. When we hit the small screen, it changes the width to 80. That's why on the big screens upwards, it's all 80. And then on the mobile view, so it's mobile, small, medium, large, extra large, 2XL, 3XL, and so forth, okay? So in this case, you can see now we've got the same nice little layout that we have over here, right? So you can see mobile view pops up, and then we've got this thing. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how we move on now. So how the hell do I style the PapaFam to look like that, right? So what I wanna do here is where we've got PapaFam in text, I'm gonna span a class around it, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say span, and I'm going to take the PapaFam portion and put it inside of the span, right? And span is basically when you're in a span a class between two things. And now we've got a problem. You see, I've got this spacing issue. So you can either put a space here and a space here. That does the trick. Or you can go ahead and put something like this involved, right? So it really depends on how you want to do it. I'm just going to put a space here and a space here to make life easier. And I'm going to go ahead and say class name, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say this middle bit where it says PapaFam should be extra bold, right? So extra bold. If I do that, bam, the NFT bit, PapaFam turns bold. Then I'm going to say it should be underlined. And since Tailwind CSS version 3, you can now do awesome stuff like decoration sort of changing, right? So I'm going to say decoration of the underline should be a pink color, right? So pink color. And we'll do 600. Now that's a bit intense though. And you can also see there's another issue. It spans over that space. So what I'm going to now do is actually take this out, put this over here, take this out, put this over here and save. And then that way it doesn't come into that space. Okay. So that's basically just forcing a little space there. Okay. So now you can see we've changed this, but I want that to be a little less intense, right? So what I do is I do / and I say 50. And this is basically saying, give it half the opacity. So now you can see it's like a subtle, right? And if I did 10, it'll give it 10% opacity. If I give it like 20% opacity and so forth, okay? So this is gonna help you out a little bit when you're doing what you're doing. Smash the thumbs up button if you're enjoying this video so far. The energy right now is really good. Right? We're going at a good pace. So at this point, we've got the PapaFam NFT marketplace. So this is looking nice, right? So what I'm now gonna do is put the sign in button over here. Right, and I'm going to style it up. So firstly, let's style up the button so that way it's easier to deal with. So I'm going to put a class name, and I'm going to say rounded full. So it's a rounded button, and I'm going to say the background in this case should be a gray color, and actually let's give it a rose color, and it's 400. And I'm going to say the text should be white. Okay, so the text should be white, and I'm going to give it padding X of 4. So now you can see the padding on the X-axis is a bit bigger. And then I'm going to say the padding on the Y-axis should be half. So padding 2, Y-axis of 2, right? The text should be extra small. Okay, so boom, gets a little bit smaller on the phones. I'm going to say the font should be bold. And then I'm going to change it when it gets onto the big screen, right? So now I want to make it responsive. So when I get onto a big screen, I want that button to change. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and basically say on a large screen. So on the large screen, I want to change the padding on the X-axis to 5. On a large screen, I want to change the padding on the Y-axis to 3. And on the large screen, I want to change the text back to its original size, text space. Okay, so there you go. I can do that. And if I go ahead and make this bigger, you see how it's, as soon as we hit the large breakpoint, look at the button sign in, it changed. It got bigger padding, it got bigger text. Awesome, looking really nice, right? So now I need them to situate themselves amongst, like, basically across each other and use equispacing, right? So I want it to look like this, and I'll show you how we can neutral out the button afterwards as well. So on this bit where we've got the header, I'm basically going to go ahead, and you see where we have this H1 and button, right, as both being children of the header. So if I go ahead and say class name flex, right, remember it goes into a row by default. But now what I want to do is I want to say items should be center, which will center it on the y-axis. Oops, center, sorry, item center. And then I'm going to say justify between. And what this will do is it will space out the components between each other. So now you can see it's just going to calculate the space between them, but it's not doing it for the large, right? So I need to figure out why that's not happening. So in this case, if I go over to our div outside and I say class name, I'm going to give this a flex box, right? And I'm going to say that this should be flex1. So it should use up as much room as possible. If you want to learn about flex1 and that kind of stuff, check out Flexbox Proggy. I'm going to say this should be flex column. Okay. So now what this is going to do is it's going to basically go ahead and, oh, okay, no, I see what we've got to do here. Made a mistake. All right. So on this view, it's a flex box, right? So this is why we have to use as much space as possible, right? So in this case, okay, yeah, I see what we're doing. All right. So now we need to say P12, padding at 12. So I'm padding it out. But when we go over to this size, right? Remember, we're in grid view. When we go to large screen, we're on the grid view. Okay. So now what we need to do is go ahead and basically have this use up the 6. Remember before, what I told you guys was this will take up 4 columns and this will take up 6 columns. We haven't told it yet it can take up 6, hence why it's just thinking that this is its space, right? So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say, where am I at? Here. Yeah, I'm going to say on the large screen, column span of 6, right? Now, check this out. Boom. There we go. Sick. Looking good. Now it knows to take up the rest of the space. Now we're going to carry on strong, guys. I need that underline underneath here, right? So we've got underneath the header now, I'm going to go ahead and put a horizontal line. Right, so we call this horizontal row, and you can see there's a little line that gets placed there now, right? So I'm going to quickly style that. So I'm going to say class name equals margin y of 2. So it's going to basically give it spacing outside of it, and I'm going to say give it a border as well, right? So that way we get thick a little bit, right? Nice. So now you can see we've got that nice little underline. So that's looking pretty clean. Okay. What I want to do now is figure out the content part. So I'm going to be doing this bit, the Pop-Bam Ape Coding Club, this goodness over here, right? So what we're going to do firstly is going to put in a div. This is going to resemble the box for the content. Next thing I'm going to do is put an image. For that image, I've made your life easy. Don't worry. I've actually shortened the URL. So right now we're going to use a static image, which is this one right here. But here you can see I've got the image popping up, right? But we want it to kind of crop it like this because it could be big, it could be small, that kind of stuff, right? So in this case, we've got image class name. I'm going to go ahead and say a width of 80. And now you'll see it gets this like shrunken look to it, right? But what I can do to fix this, right, is I'm going to say firstly, I'm going to say object cover. So object cover. And wait, I'm not done something correctly. Object cover. So I'm going to say padding bottom of 10. Right. And I'm going to say on a large screen, I want this to be a height of 40. Right. So on the smaller screen, you see it will look like this, which is fine. But on the large screen, I want to crop at a height of 40. So now you can see when I go to a large screen, pow, cover, object cover. If I did object contain, you would get it'll keep its aspect ratio, but it wouldn't look right. Okay. So this is pretty sick, right? This is looking pretty good so far. Okay. So now we've got the large height of 40. What I want you to do now is go over to the next line and put a H1. Right, so H1, and here we're going to go ahead and have the collection title. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to copy and paste this one, call it the Papa-Fam Ape Coding Club. So bam, save. Right, now over here, I'm going to give class name, and I'm going to say this one should be text 3XL, and this should be font bold. Right, so now you can see it looks a little bit nicer. Right, but when we hit a large screen, I want to change this once again. So large screens should be text 5XL, and it should be a font should be extra bold, right? So font should be extra bold, like so. So now if you see when I get to a large screen, boom, it changed size, right? So small, big, right? So you see how we're getting a bit responsive, right? right? So you can see this is looking pretty nice, right? So what I want to do is I want to basically go ahead and center all this stuff. It doesn't look right how we've done it so far. So this div, which is holding all the children, I'm going to give it a margin top of 10. So it pushes away from that bit, right? So now you can see on the small screen, this is looking more like what we have over here. And then what I want to say is that this should be a flex box. I want it to take up as much room as possible. So flex 1. And then I'm going to say it should be a column flex box. If I don't put the column in, watch what happens. It does that. Remember, it goes into a row, right? So I need to say flex column, and it stays into a column. And then I want to say items center, and that will center all my components, right? We're not done yet. I need to space out my components. So I'm going to say space on the y-axis of 6, and that will space this out. Reason for that is because I want it to space out over here. So you can see over here, I've done the same thing, right? So we've got the same sort of spacing. Right, it's just not centered yet, so we will get it centered. It'll look perfect, right? So spacing y-axis of 6, and I'm going to center the text. Bam. Looking pretty damn good, right? Now on the large screen, you can see that gap's quite big, right? On the small screen, I don't mind it, but the large screen is pretty damn big, right? So I'm going to say on the large screen, I want to firstly justify the items in the center. I'll show you that one afterwards, right? I'm going to say LG space X of 0. Space Y of 0, sorry. So I want to get rid of that spacing on when we get to a big screen. So notice this gap here, and watch what happens when it gets bigger. Right, boom. You see how it actually got smaller, that gap. Right, now the next problem is it's not centered, right? I want this to be centered on the y-axis. So what I do is I say on a large screen, justify it on the center. Bam, just like that, goes to the center. Looking at that, it's just so, it's so crazy. Like using a couple of cool things like Tailwind and Next.js, how quickly you can get to such an awesome looking app, right? And it's so responsive, looks beautiful, works on your phone. It's looking pretty good, right? So at this point, we now want to get the button in there, right? So feel free to make this, absolute position, or if you want to do that, do whatever you want to do. But what we're going to do now is basically, I'm going to go ahead and hard code this value in. Remember, tomorrow, the next day, we're going to link all this stuff up, so don't stress, right? So underneath the H1 tag, I'm going to put a P tag, P tag, okay, a P tag, and say 13 of 21 NFTs claimed. I'm going to style this, and we're basically going to go ahead and change this out tomorrow. So I'm going to say padding of 2 on the top, text should be XL, and it should be text should be green 500, okay? So you can see, look, it's starting to look very nice, awesome stuff, right? And then what I want to do is I want to change it so we have, I'll put the nice little image loading thing tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow. But I'm going to do the button now. So that's the final thing, okay? So already looking pretty good. And then we're going to literally connect Thirdweb to this app and get the authentication portion done. So right now, I need to have a button associated over here, right? So what I do to get that button is I go down here to my mint button comment, okay? And remember guys, smash the thumbs up button if you're enjoying this content right now. Make it go as high as possible, because this is going to help this video get out to more students, more people. That's what we're about. We're about teaching the world how to code, okay? So please smash that thumbs up, help people see this video, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit button like so. And inside this button, I'm just going to have a quick thing of just saying mint NFT, okay? Mint NFT. Like so. And let's just put brackets and say, imagine it's 0.01 ETH. But this is all going to be dynamic values. So it's going to be real actual values once we've done, okay? Now we're going to style this button. So I'm going to say class name. And we're going to go ahead and do H of 16. So height of 16 in this case. The button's going to be a bit taller. Width should be full. Right, now what I'm going to do is, before I do width to full, I'm going to give it a background of red and say 600. So that way you can actually see what I'm doing, right? So the width should be full. Width should be full. And I'm going to go ahead and say the text should be white. I'm going to keep hitting save so you can see what I'm doing, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and say that the rounded corners should be full. And watch the corners of that button now. So check this out when I hit save. Bam. Starting to look clean as hell, right? So really, really nice looking button so far. Okay, so we already have this looking pretty decent. It is a bit close to that button above. So what we can do here is give it a padding or margin top of 10, and you can see we can push it down, right? So if you want, you can mess around, make it float, that kind of cool stuff. I'm not going to do that today. We can pretty much leave it as it is. You guys can feel free. Remember, you can customize this. I want you to customize this. I'm going to say it out loud now. I want you to customize this and make it your own. And you know, it's going to be pretty cool. So we've got the UI pretty much down on the front. Okay. So this is looking quite nice. I'm going to actually change one more little detail because I'm OCD like that. I'm going to go ahead and say for that button, where it says mint NFT. So this one, I'm actually going to go ahead and say font bold, right? Font bold. That looks a bit better. There we go. Nice. All right. So looking pretty good at this point. Next thing I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and set up the sign in button. Okay. So for the sign in button, what we need to now do is go to Thirdweb. Okay. So remember the docs.thirdweb.com/react. So this is where you're going to need to go to. So docs.thirdweb.com/react. You'll get to this page. Now, what you can do is you can use either npm or yarn, feel free. The way to check what you're currently using is go to your file directory, go to your lock file. If it says package.lock, you're using npm. If it says yarn.lock, you're using yarn. There's no better, right, wrong answer here. It's fine. We're not getting into that, okay? In this case, it says yarn. So I'm going to say yarn, and I need to install these dependencies. This is going to allow us to use Thirdweb inside of our Next.js project, okay? So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and copy this, and basically this is going to install 3 dependencies. It's going to install Thirdweb dev React, Thirdweb dev SDK, and ethers. So you can see these 3 are going to be needed to go ahead and mess around with what we want to do. So I'm going to press Command J. I'm going to split my terminal. So now I've got my terminal on the left running my app, and I've got my terminal on the left on my right pretty free. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and install these dependencies. So you can see we've actually started to install it here. So at this point, while that's installing, we can see what we need to do. Now, the way it works is whenever you use something like Thirdweb, or if you use something like Redux or anything like that, what you need to do is essentially wrap your entire app with something called a provider. This is actually called a higher order component in the world of coding, right? But I'm not going to get into what that is. Essentially, to simplify this in layman's terms, it just means that it wraps the entire app, okay? And by wrapping the entire app, anything inside of the app can tap into what we want to do with Thirdweb. So if we're wrapping it with this Thirdweb provider, I can use all the cool Thirdweb stuff inside the app now. So I'll show you what we mean by this. So here you can see, imagine this is the entire app being rendered, yeah? What we can do is wrap Thirdweb provider around it, and then I can use all of these really powerful React hooks. So at this point, I'm going to go back to my code. You can see it's done it. It says done in 55 seconds. It took a bit of a while, but once we've got that done, what we're going to now do is go over to this quick start guide. Okay, so here you can see they've got an example. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to do this in Next.js. So in Next.js, our starting point is actually _app.tsx. So this is where we can see return component. Now don't get freaked out, okay? This is essentially where the app begins, right? This is where every page gets loaded. So what we're going to do here is put parentheses around this component, and what I'm going to now do is just space it out like so. Okay, and I'm not going to hit save yet. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this provider from that document. Okay, so you can see where it says Thirdweb provider desired chain ID. So first I'm going to install import the dependency at the top. So this pulls in the code. Then I'm going to go ahead and take this line over here, pop it in, and I'm going to take this line over here, or you could just close it off yourself. Okay, don't be lazy. There you go. And now I can hit save. Now, what this has done is, remember I was talking about wrapping your entire app. So all of these pages that we're messing around with, I can delete the search TSX now, it's fine. Yeah. But all of these pages that we do our stuff in, that is basically when we're inside the app, right? But the overall app, to wrap it, we do it like this, right? So essentially now the entire app is surrounded by the Thirdweb provider. Now, an important thing that we need to change here is this. So you see where it says desired chain ID. Right now, this is pointing towards something called the Ethereum mainnet. We're going to go ahead and change this to, we're going to call it the Rinkeyby. right? So Rinkeyby. And what this is, Rinkeyby is known as the test network for Ethereum, okay? This means you can use essentially fake Ethereum to go ahead and test transactions, test all of that stuff. So that way you're not actually risking your real money, okay? So in this case, now we're pointing towards the Rinkeyby. Now, this is why it was part of your homework to go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay real money to top up your account with Ethereum. Why? When you're coding, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and go to our app and see if anything broke. All right. So you want to go to your local host, and yeah, if you're seeing this, it means you've done it right, right? There's no error. There's nothing screaming at me saying, oh, you didn't do it right. This is good. Okay. So at this point now, I can use something called React hooks from that project inside of my app. Okay. So I'll show you how we do this. So if I go over to my NFT drop page, what I can now do is I can go ahead, and by the way, an example of all of this is actually seen inside of that document. So if we go over to the second part, you can see they've got really good examples here of how you can connect with MetaMask, how you can pull your address, and then how you can actually conditionally render it. So I do recommend, besides following along with me, you guys do this step as well. It's going to help you out, and then you can actually mess around with all of this as well if you want, but this is all we're going to need to do. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to import these 3 dependencies that you guys will also have access to. So I'm going to pull those in like so. And then at the top of my code, I just need to basically use this, right? So I'm going to make life easier. I'm just going to put a little note, little comment here saying, this is my authentication stuff. It's basically going to sit in here. And I'm going to say, firstly, I want to go ahead and get something called the connect with MetaMask, right? So anytime you see use MetaMask, use disconnect, use address, use state, this is called a React hook. So what I need to do now is I need to basically get an instance of that hook, right? So I can say const, and here I'm going to say connect with MetaMask. Okay. And this I say equals use MetaMask. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm basically using their special React hook to go ahead and actually pull in an instance of it. Now what I can do is I can actually use this function, and it will allow me to do this cool stuff that they've pre-built. All right. So the next thing I want to do is say const address equals use address. Okay, so now we could pull the address if we need to. And the final one is const disconnect, right? And this one is going to be using the use disconnect hook. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and check this out. So we've got these 3 things over here, right? So I need to now make it so that when I click on the sign in button, it should pop up with a MetaMask login request. Okay, so the way I do that now is I go ahead and go down to my code, and I'm actually going into the header. Right, so the header was over here. So I had it over here, the header. And remember where we had the sign in button. So this one right here. What I want to do is when I click this button, I want it to go ahead and execute that function. Right, so here I'm saying on click. Right, so that's a special handler that is automatically assigned to a button. So I'm gonna say on click, I'm gonna put some JSX in here. And now what I need to do is basically tell it that when I click that button, you need to sign me in, right? So you need to go ahead and try and sign me in. So what I do here is I do something called an arrow function. All this is basically a little function that's running. Okay, so it's literally a little function. I can get rid of these little arrows. Oops, there we go. And what I can do here is I can say connect with MetaMask. Okay, connect with MetaMask. Now what this is going to do is when I click the button, right? Yeah, let me know if you guys are coding along, right? Everyone's going like super focus mode, right? So when I click the button now, it should go ahead and connect me with MetaMask. So this is a moment of truth, okay? Moment of truth. Let's see if this works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and click this. Right? Oh, nice. That's what I'm talking about, right? So we get the pop-up. This is awesome, right? So I'm going to click next, and this will actually go ahead and say, hey, I'm trying to connect to your account on the website. Connect. And it's connecting. Bam. I'm actually connected to my website from my MetaMask wallet, right? Now you're probably wondering, well, it doesn't say sign out. He's lying, right? So check this out, okay? Check this out. So what I can now do is I need to basically check if there is an address. So a way to do this is if you put a console log here and you say address, right? And you go over to your app right here and do basically open up the inspector. So inspect, and I go to my console. Now you'll see there is an address in the console. Okay, so that means I'm logged in, right? If you see an address, that means you're signed in. And this is persistent, by the way. So if I go ahead and refresh, you will see I'm gonna make this bigger. You'll see that in the beginning it was undefined, and then it found that I was logged in, and then bam. So I'm logged in with my address, okay? So what I can now do, guys, is I can basically go ahead and use this address to determine if the person is logged in or not. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to conditionally render a couple of things. Okay, firstly, I want to go ahead and say if I am logged in, so if there is an address, then it should say sign out. All right, so this is called a ternary operator. Otherwise, it should say sign in. Okay, so this is called a ternary, and basically what you're doing here is just saying if there is an address. So if you're logged in, the button should say sign out. Otherwise, so else, it should say sign in. Okay, so check this out. Now it says sign out. Hey, look at that. If I refresh, it will check if I'm logged in. Bam, it knows I'm logged in. Sign out. Okay, cool. But what about this? This doesn't make sense. It's always going to try and connect me with MetaMask. So now what I can do is I can put another ternary over here, which says check the address. If there's an address, simply use the disconnect function over here. So I'm going to go ahead and say, then you should disconnect, else connect with MetaMask. Right, so now if you see this, look, if there's an address, so if I'm logged in, then disconnect me. Otherwise, connect with MetaMask. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, right? So we've literally got a ternary operator now. So if I try this, we should literally have it working. So if I click this, sign out, boom, I'm signed out. Nice. And if I click sign in, boom, I'm signed in, right? Now you're probably wondering, hang on a second. It didn't prompt you the second time, right? Well, the good thing about Web3 is that once you've authenticated once, it doesn't keep annoying you saying, hey, reconnect me, right? You can just sign in and sign out of that website, right? So in this point, what I can do is if I want to kind of get that prompt again, I can open up my MetaMask and I can go to the connected sign. Notice how I'm not signed in, but I'm still connected to the website. If I click this and I go over here and I click disconnect this account, now you can see if I sign in, it prompts me again. Okay, so there you go. I can sign in, and it was that's basically how it works. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that looks pretty good, right? Now the final thing I want to do is say you're logged in with the wallet. So on top of this image right here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is say I'm going to have, where is my button? My button is over here. So underneath the button, I'm going to have a horizontal line. So where's my horizontal line? Here we go. Right. I'm going to have the address. Now, basically what I'm doing here is I'm saying a conditional, right? So I'm saying if there is an address, only if there's an address should what I'm putting here basically show. So and says only if this is true. So only if there is an address, then I want to render out a p tag. Okay. And the p tag should say you're logged in with a wallet, right? And then here I could put the entire address, right? So I could do this. Look, you're logged in with the wallet. And if I click sign out, you're not signed in. Sign out. There we go. Okay, so it works, right? But what we tend to see on crypto websites is it will basically kind of trim the beginning, ... trim the rest. And then that way you can kind of get the gist of it. If that's my account, yeah, that's my account, right? It makes sense. So in this case, and if you want to donate, feel free. That's my wallet. Okay, so at this point, what we can do is I can go ahead and do something called a substring and a substring, right? So I can do here. The first one, I'm going to basically say substring it. I'm going to say start from the beginning and basically go up to the first 5 characters. So there we go. Okay. Then after this, what I can do is I can go ahead and say ... And then I can say address .substring. And what I can do here is I can say starting from the end, right? And the way we do this, we say address.length. That's basically starting from the end -5, okay? And what this will do is it will basically start from the end and it will go 5 moves back, okay? So you can see this, look at that, right? So you're logged in with wallet like that, right? That looks a lot cleaner, right? That looks definitely a lot cleaner, right? So at this point, right, so that's basically how you tend to see crypto websites showing the wallet, okay? So at this point, what I want to do is make this look a little bit more pretty because it doesn't look good at all. So at this point, I'm going to say margin Y. No, sorry, not that. I'm going to say this should be, text should be centered. And I also want this to be text small. The text small. I'm going to say the text should be a rows of 400, right? So now you can see, bam. All right, looks quite cool. Now remember, this will work perfectly on a phone, right? This has been designed for a mobile view, and over here on the desktop view looks pretty damn clean, right? Now remember, this is the starting point for you guys, right? This is literally what you guys can start off with. This is the authentication portion now done, right? looks awesome. It's fully responsive. And what I want you guys to do is go ahead and build that out and customize it, guys. Make it your own. Make this page look sick. I want to see your variants of your own NFT drop pages, not just copying mine. Do mine and then kind of, give it your own flavor. Okay. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to deploy this to Vercel. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy this thing now. So first thing you want to do, open up your github.com. Okay, log in. So hopefully I don't get any issues here. I'm going to log in. I'm going to create a repo. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say new repository, and I'm going to go ahead and say that this one should be, let's just say it's going to be NFT drop challenge. Oops, challenge, right? I'm going to show you how to push your code to a GitHub. I'm going to make this one a private repo so that way no one can copy, right? You can copy if you put the work in, right? And I'm going to go ahead and say create repository. Now, what you want to do here, guys, is we don't want to create a new repo. We've already done that. We want to push to an existing repo, right? So what we're going to do is take this line over here, git remote add origin. Okay, well, in fact, there's actually another command that we might have to do here, but I'll show you that one in a sec. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead, Command J, and I'm going to basically go here and I'm going to paste that in, git remote add origin. Okay, now what I'm going to do is you can do git branch main and all that good stuff, but you don't actually have to. We're already on the main branch. So what I'm going to now do is you can see I've got 5 changes that I've made. So these are all the files that I've basically made changes to. So the way we do this now is you guys can literally copy along with this, right? I'll show you how to push your changes. So we say git status, and as you can see, there are all these different files that I've added to my project, okay? So now I can say git add all, and if I do git status again, so that was git add dot, right? That means add all. Now you can see I basically staged these, right? So if you do it here, there'll be a plus icon here. So if I do it on this one, it'll say plus. So now I've basically staged. So I showed you both ways to do it, right? Then what you want to do is say git commit -m for the message, and in quotes you basically put a commit message. So I'm going to say day 2 is finished, exclamation mark, enter. And now we've gone ahead and basically committed our changes to our repo. Now our repo is local, which means it's only on my computer. I want to push it to my GitHub repo. So what I now do is I type in git push and I hit enter, and this command comes up right here. I copy this command and I basically push it to my upstream branch. Now you can see it pushes to the branch that I just created, right? So if I go over here and I refresh now, you can see literally day 2 is finished, has now been committed, right? So all my code is now on a GitHub repo. The next step is you want to head over to vercel.com. Okay, now you want to log in to Vercel. So in this case, I'm going to continue with my GitHub. So I'm going to quickly log into my GitHub account, right? So now I'm actually in. So check this out. And then I want to go ahead and click on a new project up here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and you should see you can connect a Git repo. So I've already done it. So in this case, I've got the NFT drop 48 seconds ago. That's the one. I'm going to click import. So you guys can see we can configure the project here, and the framework preset is automatically configured for us, okay? But what we can now do is I can ignore this stuff for now. I can go down to deploy. So once this is up, right, I'm going to go ahead and click deploy. This is going to go ahead and do the build process for us, right? So this is literally building out right now. So this won't take too long. Right, once this is done, it will literally go ahead and deploy it to a Vercel domain that we get for free. All right, let's check this out. All right, wait for it. It's just building. We can be a bit nosy. We can check this out. So check this out. We just deployed. All right, so look at this. I'm going to click on this site over here. Now, you're probably wondering, hang on a second, that looks like crap, right? What is that up there? Right, well, remember, we didn't customize the homepage. So I'm going to leave that up to you if you want to. To test if your deployment's correct, go to /NFT/ this could be anything at this point, but we're going to say Papa Fam Apes, okay? And I'm going to do enter. Check this out. Let's see if we did it right. Hey, this is live right now, guys. All right, so at this point, what we're going to first do, I think, is we're going to go ahead and set up your Sanity CMS backend, okay? So first thing you want to do is go ahead and head over to Sanity CMS, right? So you're not actually heading over to any Sanity CMS link. I want you to go over to sanity.io/sunny, right? Okay, you want to go to this URL and then you should see this page pop up. It should say, welcome Papa member. We got this page designed, right? What you're going to need to do is install the Sanity CLI tools. Okay, so this is actually a global install, which means you're probably going to have to write sudo in front of it. Okay, so where you have this command here, you're probably going to have to write sudo, and then it prompts you to enter your password and then you can use it, right? But I've already done this step, so I'm not going to do it. This one is the one that you need to do, okay? So pay attention now, okay? What we're gonna actually do is we're gonna go over to our app, right? So we're gonna go over to the app, we're gonna do Command J, we're gonna pull up our terminal, and inside here, what I'm actually gonna do is after I've ran that global install, we're gonna go ahead and type in Sanity, and I'm gonna go ahead and say login. Okay, and what this will do is it will prompt me with a login type. All right, so at this point I need to choose my login, so I'm going to click Google and then it's going to prompt you to log in. Now I've already logged in with an account, okay, so I'm not going to do that step again, but all you would have to do at this point is literally go ahead, log in, and then it will go ahead and give you a confirmation on your terminal down here. Okay, so we've already done that, so I'm actually going to cancel this one. So we've actually done that step, but you're going to have to do it. The next thing you're going to do, rather than just doing sanity init, you're going to have to do this command here. Right, this is what gives you that extra double quota. Okay, so copy this command with the coupon, and you want to go down here and basically go ahead and paste it in. Right now, pay attention, guys. You're going to see you're setting up a new project. We'll make sure you have an account with Sanity, blah, blah, blah. Then we'll install open source JS content that connects, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff's pretty cool. You can give it a read yourself, right? At this point, I need to go ahead and click on create a new project. Okay, so I'm going to go up with the arrow keys, hit enter. I need to give my project a name. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and see NFT DROP DAPP challenge. Okay, hit enter. And at this point, it will go ahead and create my project for me. Now, as you can see here, we've got, it says, what do you want to name your data set basically? Now here, you don't actually have to do anything. You can just leave it as the default. So you can just click enter on the keypad, right? Now wait for it. It'll go create your data set, because remember, this is a backend. Now here it says project output path. Now here, what I would recommend you do is you give it a suitable name, right? So you make it a bit easier to understand. So at this point, I would most likely either type in Sanity or type in Studio, right? So in this case, because I'm going to call it Sanity, right? So project output path, we're going to say Sanity. And then you get these project templates. So at this point, I've got 4 to choose from. I've got movie project, e-commerce, blog, or clean project with no predefined schemas. Now here, I'm going to use the blog example to help us understand how Sanity CMS works. So I'm going to go to blog. I'm going to hit enter, right? These are really good templates, guys. It actually makes life a lot easier. You can go ahead and play with it. You can see, you can learn for yourself as you do it. Right? So this will go ahead and install all the dependencies after that we're going to need. And it's also going ahead and create us a project on Sanity. So we're ready to jump into it at any point. Okay. So let's go ahead and let this do its thing. Right now, I'm going to go ahead, and while that's happening, I'm going to go to Sanity. I'm going to log in to my account, and we should be able to see that app being built. Okay. So wait for it. Let's go ahead and check this out. It says resolving dependencies. It's still doing its thing. And let's see if we can beat it over here. So sanity.io/manage once you've logged in. And this should show my projects inside of sanity.io. All right, so a little bit of a wait here. There we go. NFT drop challenge. I'm going to click this and then I'm going to see the next screen. Okay. So now this is basically what you should be at, right? So you should see this over here. So we've got the plan, we've got active, and then we've got so forth, right? Everything that we needed. Now over here, okay, we're still installing dependencies. That's fine. Let it do its thing. Right, so over here, we're going to go ahead and prepare a couple of things. Okay, so we're going to go over to our API. Now, in order for us to kind of mess around and connect to our Sanity backend, we're going to need something called a token. Okay, so what you're going to do is click add API token. And here you're going to go ahead and basically give this token a name. Okay, so you can see employee import, website preview, PDF generator, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it my challenge app. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and give it the editor rights. This is because I want to be able to read and write access to all the data sets. And I want to basically, I don't want to change any project settings with this key. So editor is enough. Now, when I click save, I'm going to go ahead and hide my screen. Now, the reason why I'm going to hide my screen is because it's going to show me a key. What you need to do, guys, and I'm going to, before I click save, I'm going to go ahead and prepare something now. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hide my terminal and let this install. I'm going to open up my sort of, files over here, and I'm actually going to create something called an environment file. So .env.local. And what we're doing here is we're storing our sensitive credentials. Okay, so at this point, what I want to do is I want to create a credential which has the key Sanity API token. And what I want to do is I want to paste in the key here. So your key that you're going to get in the next bit, your key will go here. Okay, so you want to paste the key that you get back and you want to put it here. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and click on save. So I'm going to hide my screen. And and then what you'll see is right now I've just clicked save and it says copy the token below. This is your only chance to do so. So I'm basically going to copy that out, and then I'm going to go ahead and come back to this page so that way you guys can't see that key. Okay, so now I've already gone ahead and come back to the page, and you should see the key has been created for me. It did just a second ago show the key. So what I'm going to now do is go over here to my Sanity API token, and I'm basically going to go ahead and paste it in here. So I'm going to hide this when I do this, but I'm pasting in the key, the token, right? So now I've got that long squiggly bunch of strings inside of there. Okay, so I'm going to close my environment local file. So what I've done there is I've pasted it in, right? So now I've got my special key inside of that file. Okay, so I hope that made sense. Just take your time with it, don't rush, it'll be fine. Okay, so now we have our token ready. Let's check on our install to see how we're doing. I'm going to pull this up. Awesome stuff. We are now done. So it says success. Now what? So you can basically now go into that project folder. So I'm going to show you how the directory looks like. We have our Next.js app, and now we have this new folder called Sanity. So by clicking Sanity, this is actually representing the studio. Now, one thing you have to do to make sure your Git doesn't go crazy, you can see it says 10,000 changes, is you're gonna need to go into your git ignore file, and you're gonna have to change something here, yeah? So where you've got basically git ignore is where you don't wanna commit things. We don't wanna commit dependency files. It's a bad practice. You really don't wanna do that. So here what I'm gonna do is type in /sanity, sanity, /node modules and hit save. Okay, now at this point, what we've told it to do is basically go ahead and ignore the files that are inside of the Sanity directory. So if you don't see an update here, click on this and go to the update refresh, right? Now you should see a much lesser number. That's what you basically want to do to make sure you don't commit anything that you shouldn't be committing when you push this to your GitHub repo, okay? So now heading back over to our code, now's kind of the fun part. Now's where we can kind of start messing around with something, okay? So let's check this out. So what we're now going to do is create a file called sanity.js, right? And then I'm going to tell you what you need to install and so forth. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and open up my files. I'm going to close everything here. So we're going to go over to the package.json level. I'm going to create a new file called sanity.js. And let's think of this as our helper file, okay? This is, by the way, this snippet of code that I'm about to put in here next is available on the website. Okay, it's available on the website and you can go ahead and find it. I'm not going to show you exactly where to find it, but it's literally there on the documentation. You guys can feel free to find it, and you know, if you don't believe me. Okay, so at this point, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paste in a bunch of code, right? So this is actually just a config, and we're going to need 2 dependencies at this point. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the dependencies that I need. So you can see on my right hand terminal over here, I'm going to do Command K to hide this, and I'm going to go ahead and say yarn add, and I'm going to go ahead and pop in because I am using yarn. Yep, yarn add, and I'm going to say next sanity, and I'm also going to install something called sanity image URL. Okay, so this is going to help me basically pull the images from Sanity, and this is going to help me use Next.js with Sanity. So I hit enter now. This is going to install the packages into my app. Okay, so while this is happening, what we're actually going to do is prepare ourselves over here, right? So I'm going to import the things I need from these 2 dependencies. So at this point, I'm going to use something called a config, right? So the config is basically going to be our connection to Sanity. So this is the config that you're going to need. And as you can see, this is all comments, right? So if we were to get rid of this, you can read it over if you want. But to keep it simple, I'm going to show you just this. So you can actually pause it, read it if you want. But I'm going to show you the slimline version. Okay. Now, as you can see, guys, we've got these dataset, project ID, API version, and use CDN. Okay. So we've got this kind of stuff that we're going to need to go ahead and give values for. Now, what the hell is this, right? Well, remember that environment variable that I set over here, right? Environment.local. The way we can tap into those variables is we say process.environment.whatever the key was. Now, we didn't add these 2 keys, right? We added in the Sanity key. We need to add these keys in, and basically whenever it says next public, what we're essentially doing is we're revealing whatever that key value is to the browser. I'm not going to get too far into how server-side rendering works in this challenge, but if you want to know more, you can watch some of my Next.js builds or join Zero to Full Stack here and where we explain it all, okay? But basically what this means is next public says, this is a key which I don't mind exposing to the rest of the world, okay? So I obviously don't want to expose my Sanity API key, but these two I don't mind exposing, okay? So I'm going to go over, and first thing I need is a project ID. So where do I get my project ID from? I go over to my dashboard over here in Sanity and I copy the project ID, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, hide my screen, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to see if I can get something pretty good going here so I can actually hide something for you and still be able to show the code. So I'm going to wonder if I can do this. No. How do I do it? I've got a nice little extension which actually hides the next line. There we go. Is it hide stream? Hide stream. So there it is, hide stream. I'm going to try this out. Hide stream. Okay, did it work? No, it didn't work. Okay, never mind. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to get rid of my key for a second in Sanity API token, so that way you guys can't see it. Okay, cool. Let's do that. So at this point, I've got my environment file, and I'm going to go ahead and copy these two keys in there, right? So I need my project ID, and I need one more, which is my Sanity data set, right? And if I don't give it next_public, this works on the server-side render, but it doesn't work on the browser. Now, if that doesn't make sense, don't stress. But basically, we need to say next public to expose it to the browser, right? And we're going to be using this stuff in the browser, so it's going to make sense for us, right? Now, the project ID, I told you I got it from here, so I'm going to copy it, go back here, bam, we put it in, and the Sanity data set, right? So inside of the data set, in this case, I'm just going to push straight to production. But what we can actually do here is we can have several data sets. You could have a production data set, you could have a testing data set, you can do pretty cool stuff. Imagine you had a CI pipeline. You could do really nice things with this, right? And then we need to put in our Sanity API token back. So I'm going to go ahead and pop my Sanity token back so that way we don't mess things up. And I'm going to reveal what's on my screen afterwards. Right, so I've gone ahead, put my key back in. Now I'm putting it back over here, right? So at this point, what we need to do is save the file. And I need to basically tell Next.js that I've updated my environment file variables. So what I need to do is stop my app from running, and I need to do it again. So I need to say yarn run dev. So I'm restarting my app. And the reason being is because you can see here, guys, it would actually say loaded environment from your local environment files. So you have to do that if you make a change to your environment files. Okay, smash the thumbs up button if you're learning stuff here, right? If you're learning anything new here and you think this is a value, smash the thumbs up. It helps other people find this video so that way they can learn as well, okay? So once we've got this configuration, this is what we basically need, right? So now what I need to do is basically create an instance of a client that we can basically use to connect to Sanity. So the way we do that is we basically go ahead and add this line in. So we say export const Sanity client equals create client, right? So we're using it from the next Sanity dependency, and we pass in this configuration. Imagine this is kind of like our key, which allows us to go ahead and connect to Sanity's backend, right? So now we've got the configuration. It knows which project it needs to go ahead and get, and we can actually get things moving from here. Now I'm going to need one more helper function, okay? Now the reason for this is because when we have images in Sanity, for example, if I have something that looks like this, where did it go? Where did it go? Okay, so imagine if I've got my images like this, right? When I want to pull this from Sanity, the helper function makes the image pulling process really easy, okay? So this one helper function that I'm about to put in here is going to basically save us a bunch of time, okay? So the one that we're going to need is essentially this one here, and it has got some documentation here, so you can feel free to head over to here if you want to read more about it. I recommend you do, okay? So we're making a little function here which takes a source and it uses this helper function, takes the config and basically goes ahead and gets, and we pass it, and we basically derive an image from it, okay? So this will basically return us a URL, right? And then we can basically pass that to an image, and then bam, we have a nice, beautiful image that is pulled from Sanity, right? So Sanity.js, now we've got our Sanity stuff pretty much connected. So how do we now pull information in? And actually, before we do any of that, how do I get my Sanity studio up and running, right? So remember what I'm showing you here. You're probably wondering, this guy didn't even explain how you pull this up. Well, to open up the Sanity studio where we can actually, change the data, we can do the following, right? We can pull up our terminal. I can go over here and I can basically now CD into that Sanity folder. Remember, there was a Sanity folder, so we have to make sure we go into it. So CD into that, and then you want to basically say Sanity start, okay? And what this is going to do, guys, is it's going to spin up your Sanity server, right? So give this a second to load, and what you're going to see is I'm using this server address. So what I need to do is I need to cancel the one that I'm running at the moment. So that's fine. We can actually go ahead and cancel that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and close my server over here. There we go. And I've actually deployed the other one so I can use it if we need to. So I'm now going to do it again, Sanity start. And it should have that port now free. Okay, so what this will do is it will launch up our Sanity Studio inside of our local machine. This is really cool for when you're developing, when you want to go ahead and add update information to your Sanity CMS backend. But what if I want to deploy this kind of, this really nice Sanity Studio up to the cloud? So that way anyone can go ahead, log in with their, team account and basically go ahead and change the information. For example, your product owner or somebody in your team. Well, they made it super easy, and I'm going to show you just how to do it, right? So we've gone ahead and committed it. We've ran the command. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. So if I go to localhost 33333, you will now see I get a login screen. So I need to use the same login provider. So in this case, I'm going to log in with my Google account. I'm going to go ahead, sign in. So I've signed in with, oh no, I didn't sign in with this account. It was the wrong account. It was the other one, I think. I believe it was the other one. Oh, maybe we are in this one. Okay, so I did create it with this one. Yeah, I get confused at times. If it says we're not allowed access, then it was the wrong one. But yep, there you go, log out. So you see, if you try and log in with the wrong account, it's not going to work. I'm actually going to log in with our Pop React team account. There we go. And now you can connect to Sanity.io. It knows who we are. So you see how we grant access based on only the users which are allowed. So at this point, we've got 3 of these things. Remember, we picked a starting template. Okay, so at this point, you can see post, author, and you can see category. Okay, so if I open up a post, if I open up author and I open up a category, you can't see anything over here right now. Okay, so basically, if I go to create an author and I go to create a new document, you can see that I've got a bunch of nice fields, right? So I can start filling this out if I want to, right? So if I was to have this on one side and I actually opened up another instance of this document, I want to show you guys something right now, which is really awesome, right? So if I was to type in over on this side, so look at Sunny, can you guys see how there's a real-time link between the pages, which is incredible? So imagine 2 teammates are literally going ahead and adding to the same thing. So if I typed in Sunny Sanga, you would see what the other teammate's doing, and you can actually see who's making that change. So in this case, it's both me. But if you want to create a slug, for example, you can see it automatically updates. It's a live feed, right? So this is really, really cool. So what we're going to now do is we're going to change the schema. So obviously I don't want authors and all that kind of stuff, or post and category. So I'm going to modify this schema, and then we're going to write a TypeScript definition, which allows us to enforce this in our Next.js app. If you don't know what TypeScript is, it's basically strongly typed definitions introduced into the JavaScript world. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how we get all of this done. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Sanity. We're going to go over to schemas, and you're going to see a bunch of stuff over here, okay? So we're going to go ahead and simplify a lot of this, and be prepared for a couple of errors to be screaming at you at this point, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and delete the block content. I don't actually want block content right now. That's what resembles that rich text editor over here. So the rich text, this is called block content. We don't actually want that right now. So I'm going to remove that. You may want that. I use it in the Medium clone. Feel free to check it out in that one, right? We also don't actually want the category, right? Don't actually want that one right now. So I'm going to get rid of that, right? So at this point, we're left with our author, and we're left with the post, okay? So I'm going to basically rebuild these 2 out, right? So I want one of them. So I'm going to change from author to creator, and I'm going to change my post to a collection, okay? So this is going to be basically our structure. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because this is kind of how I do it when I'm messing around with something, right? That way I don't have to rebuild it all. I can kind of reuse, I can get to learn it as I do it, and I can see what I need to basically do. Now for the creator, it's very similar to what we have, right? So if I go to my actual one that's deployed right now, so if I go to my actual Sanity Studio, the one that's live for the main app, what we can see here is I've got a collection, and actually I've got a creator, right? Now the creator has Sunny Sangha inside. It's got a name, an address field, a slug, an image, and a bio, right? So I'm going to show you how we can basically go ahead and get this written in our schema and how we can get it reflected on our side, right? So here what I do is I change if I go to creator, sorry, I'm going to go ahead and change the following. So first thing up here, I'm going to change it to a creator. The title is what basically appears on the screen. So I'm going to change this to a capital C so it looks nicer. It is a document. Okay, so we're going to keep that the same. The name is okay. There's the display name. So that's what's basically going to be shown on the screen to the CMS editor. Then we've got type. The type is a string. So the data type here is a string. Okay. The next thing we have is I want to enter in an address, right? This is going to be your Ethereum address. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this in. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to say address. The display name is going to be address with a capital A. And this is also going to be a string. The final one is going to be a slug. Sorry, the next one is going to be a slug. A slug is essentially what is at the end of the URL. So the / whatever we have at the end. So if it's / author / Sunny Sangha, this is basically going to be the slug. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this here. The next thing we have is image. I'm going to keep that on for now. This is basically perfect. We've got an image that we can go ahead and upload to. Right? You can change it to profile picture if you want, but I'm going to keep it as image. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make life a little bit easier. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the bio. We're going to get rid of the preview section. I'm not going to cover what previews are today, but we will do it in another video. And what I want to finally do here, guys, is basically copy one more string, and I'm going to add it down over here and call this one bio. All right, so this one's going to be the bio, and it's also going to be of type string. Okay, so I'm going to hit save. So this is the schema that you're going to want. Okay, this schema right here. Now that's the creator done. The collection is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so this is what's going to resemble the actual NFT drop. Okay, so let's have a look at one example here. We've got the Papa Fam Ape Coding Club. We've got a title. We've even got this nice little description, which I'm going to show you how to do. We've got a description over here. So this is actually a kind of aesthetic description. And then we've got name of NFT collection. We've got the address. We've got the slug. We've got the creator, which is linked. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We've got a main image and a preview image. So I'm going to show you how to do all of this now. So inside the collection, I'm going to change the name to collection. I'm going to change the title to collection with a capital C. We've got the name, the title, I'm going to keep as title, but I want to have a description here, right? I want to add a kind of like a nice little UI to it. So the description here is actually resembles this description that you see here. So I'm going to say enter the title of the NFT drop. So here I say enter the title of the NFT drop. Nice, looks good. Okay, the next one is I'm actually going to have a description, which is going to be on the actual UI, right? So I'm going to keep this one as description with a string. Okay, the next bit I'm going to have is something called the NFT collection name. Okay, so here we're going to have NFT collection name, and then we've got name of the NFT collection is going to be what you see on the screen. And then we've got a string, okay? And then I'm going to have the address. Now, the address is going to be what basically is your smart contracts Ethereum address, right? Or it could be a smart blockchain address. So I'm just going to write address, and this is basically going to be a string. Now, in the actual practice, this is going to be your address, which is connected to our Thirdweb smart contract deployment, okay? So this is looking really good. And then we're going to have the slug. The slug we're going to keep the same. That's going to be the URL. So remember yesterday we set it up in a way that it was like your website /NFT/ and then it didn't matter. It was a wildcard. We're going to make that wildcard connected to this collection slug. So basically, if you go to the /Papa Fam Apes, it will pull up this collection right here. Right, it will go ahead and pull this up right here. So we're going to make it all connected, right? It's going to be really cool. So we've done the slug. The next thing we're going to do is the creator. This is the cool part. So you know we created a separate schema over here. What we can actually do is we can use that as a type. So the way we do this is we change it to a creator. We change this to a creator over here, creator. And then we basically go ahead and say reference. Now here, rather than a type of author, all I need to do, guys, is I need to go ahead and just pass in creator. And that was the name that we gave to this schema. You remember here, creator? So that's basically how we go ahead and reference that. The next thing we have is the main image. That's actually perfect. I actually want to keep that as it is. I'm actually going to go ahead and copy the main image, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in something called the preview image. And this one is going to be used for when we want to basically preview NFTs and that kind of stuff, right? Now we don't actually need the rest of this. So categories I can get rid of. We don't need publish that, and I don't need body right now. So I'm going to get rid of these. Okay, the preview I'm going to get rid of as well. We're going to cover it in a separate video. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So we've got our 2 schemas down, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just skim through so you can pause and see that if you want. But we've got the collection schema and the creator schema. This is basically our database layout. The final thing we have to do is basically connect these up together, right? So if we go to the schema.js file, this is where all the kind of connection happens, okay? So what I'm going to now do is basically clean this up. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is we no longer have the category and this. We actually changed our post or one of them over to a collection. So we're going to go ahead and change that to collection, and the author we actually changed over to a creator, right? So now we've got 2 import lines, import collection, import creator. And now you can see we're basically passing in all of the different schemas into this over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this in, and you can see we've got the post, author, category, block content. We've changed this up now, right? Now we have collection and creator. So it's going to be collection, comma, creator, right? Now, if you've done it all right, if we did this right in one go, I'll be bloody amazed, right? So if I go ahead and hit save now, if I go ahead and actually go back to my application, I go back to my localhost 3333 and I refresh. Okay, we may need to refresh everything. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and go there. There we go. Now, what we should see we should see the collection and the creator. So let's go ahead and test this out, guys. I'm going to go ahead, get a new creator, and you can see here we've got Elon Musk. Okay, the address. What is the address of Elon Musk, right? So in this case, I'll just give my address for my Ethereum. So in this case, bam, I've got my address. Let's just do me. I'll make it easier. Sunny Sanga. There we go. Right. Bio. The Papa Farm rules. Right. Slug. If I click generate, boom, it generates a unique slug based on my name. Okay, and an image. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and find an image quickly and upload it, right? So I'm not sure if I've got one here right now. I should have one over here in my photos. So I'm going to go ahead and boom, I've got a picture of me. There we go. If you've seen me for a while, you know that I've got, this is my fullback picture. Right, my hair was definitely not cut in COVID times. So I'm going to go ahead and you can see we've got this publish command, right? So this is basically unpublished at the moment. It's just on my local machine. If I want to push this up to the data set, the production data set, I click this button down here. You can see it's edited 15 seconds ago. I can review the changes. I can see what changes were made, and I can actually choose to revert. So amazing source control, amazing kind of, we can actually go really granular here and see what differences were made, and you can see who changed it. So really awesome for teams. I'm going to publish those changes. Okay. What I'm now going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and pull open my collection. Okay. I'm going to pull open the collection, and we're going to create a new collection. Now over here, this is where we're going to go ahead and basically have all the details like we have over here, right? Now we're going to need something for the address, right? We don't actually have an address right now. So we're going to basically go ahead and create our NFT drop in just a second. But for now, we can go ahead and use the following information. So in R1, we're going to give it a title, the Papa Fam Ape Coding Club. We're going to say, what did we give for description? I'm going to say the same description over here. So a collection of Papa Fam apes who live and breathe React, right? And name of the NFT collection, I just called it Papa Fam apes. So in this case, boom, this is what's going to show up on the UI. For the address, we're going to leave it now, but I will put in an address value in just a sec. We're going to click generate. You can see the Papa Fam Ape Coding Club. Now that's actually quite long, right? I actually don't want it to be that long. So I'm going to make this one easier. Because I want it to be /NFT/ Papa Fam apes, right? And the creator, I can go ahead and click this right here, click Sunny. Okay, now for the images, for the main image, we're going to go ahead and use the following one. We're going to use this, which is going to be basically the big image that you're going to see. And then we've got this nice little ape over here that we're going to use for the preview. So for the main image, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm going to put in. All right, so I found the 2 pictures. You guys can feel free. They're literally just a file uploader comes up. You guys can select your pictures. So awesome stuff. All right, boom, we've got these 2 pictures. Now I'm going to publish this, right? Obviously the address. Where the hell do I get my address from? So this is where I'm going to pause and basically jump into Thirdweb. Okay, so I need this address, and this is going to represent the NFT drop inside of Thirdweb. Okay, so if we go over to our Thirdweb dashboard, we're going to basically need to create one of these. So what you need to do, go over to Thirdweb, click login. That's going to prompt you to log in with your Ethereum wallet. Okay, so I've already done that. I've already logged in with my wallet, and here you can see disconnect wallet. So once you've connected your Ethereum wallet that we set up yesterday, all you need to do is go to your dashboard, And then I have got contracts here. It's just loading. So let's wait till our contracts load up. We should see it in just a second. Right, give it a second, be patient. So ignore these top ones. The ones you want to see is Papa Fam Apes. That's the NFT drop that you're seeing when I'm demoing the app, right? So what we're going to do is yours is going to be empty. I'm going to click on create new contract. Now here you can see we've got a bunch of nets to choose from, right? We've got Ethereum, Polygon, Phantom, and Avalanche. So what we can do here is these are main nets. If you ever want to do this for real and you want to charge real Ethereum value money, right? So basically you want to charge Ethereum, which has real value associated to it, or real Polygon that has value associated to it. You want to use mainnet, okay? But what I would recommend is you always, what I'd recommend is you always go ahead and click create new contract and do it on a test net first, practice it, see that everything works, and then do a mainnet, okay? So in this case, we're going to do a Rinkeyby Ethereum network. The reason why is because we can actually fund it with fake Ethereum to test the transactions, and then we can go ahead and see that it all works. So I'm going to click on Rinkeyby, and here you get the awesome selection of choices from Thirdweb. So you can go ahead and create NFTs, you can do a drop, you can do set up a marketplace, governance and split. We're going to go ahead and do an NFT drop. Okay, so this is what we're doing today. Now you can be damn sure that I'm going to be making more videos going through all of the different types, right? So if you guys want to see that, feel free to let me know in the comments down below, and I'm going to be doing that for you guys. So I'm going to be covering all of these different things, especially the marketplace. Really, really cool feature. We're going to click release a drop, NFT drop, and edition drop. So you can see we want one of one NFTs in this situation. So I'm going to click NFT drop. Now over here, we basically give a name, okay? So in this case, you can give it whatever name you want, right? I'm going to call this one Papa Fam Apes. This is the official name of the collection. This is quite important because you're going to be seeing that name on OpenSea. So if I go over to OpenSea right now, I want to show you guys an example of what I mean by this. So if I'm logged into the Rinkeyby network, by the way, if you can switch your networks up here, if you followed yesterday's steps correctly, you'll be able to see Rinkeyby network here. When you go into OpenSea.io, which is basically the aftermarket for NFTs, you want to click this testnet.opensea.io. So you'll make sure you're on the test OpenSea network, right? Now, when you're here, I want to show you guys something. So if I go over to my profile, we should see there's some Papa Fam Apes. So the name I give to that option that we're in right now is what's going to come up on here, right? So we've got Papa Fam Apes, right? So the symbol for this, let's just call it like PPF, for example, right? And then the description, a collection of awesome Papa Fam Apes. Hey, image, let's give it an image. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and give it just the main image. So let's just give it an image for now of this. This is the entire collection we're resembling, but right. So you could give it a collage or whatever you want. In fact, I'm going to give it a collage. So I'm going to make it a bit easier for us to see that that's actually the collection itself. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in this one right here. So that makes a little bit more sense. Right, so this is the NFT drop contract. Now, the recipient address. Whenever somebody buys the NFT, where should the funds go? We basically go ahead and we're going to put in our address because we're the creator in this case. So in this case, I'm putting in my address. And then you've got this awesome selection here, royalties, right? So here you can see we've got royalties. So in this case, when every single, when somebody buys or when they transfer or secondary sell, so imagine if somebody lists this for sale on OpenSea, if they make that sale, guys, you can actually say, I want 1% of every single transaction which is made. That's crazy, right? You can literally make a passive income from this stuff if you do it well. And you actually have utility behind your NFTs. Don't just sell crap, right? So in this case, if I go over to my dashboard, I'm going to just assume here, we're going to say 1% of every sort of transaction afterwards, I want in royalties, right? So deploy the contract. Now, it's not normal. It's not like the Web 2 way, you just click deploy and it's done. What we have to do now is actually create and deploy this smart contract. And as I mentioned, it goes to your wallet. So at this point, you want to go to your MetaMask. And what you will see here, guys, is we will actually have a beautiful little pop-up called a deploy proxy, right? This is the first thing you're going to want to do. You want to click on this and you want to basically go ahead and confirm. Here you see there's a gas fee. Gas fees essentially mean basically the price that we have to pay to actually add in our transaction to the blockchain, right? This is the Ethereum blockchain. Typically, it's associated with high gas fees until there's the Ethereum 2.0 upgrade. So if you want to do it for real, I recommend Polygon. It's very cheap to do so, and you can do it with Thirdweb. But for now, we're testing, so we're using the Rinkeyby network, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click confirm. And the next thing we're going to do is you can see it says pending. So everything in Web3, you know, it might take a bit of time. So it's fine. In this case, we're just going to be patient. You can speed up the transaction if you want to. You can basically submit and pay an extra gas fee. So in this case, it's fake money for the Rinkeyby network. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Right now, in this case, if it did come up with an error for you saying, whoa, you don't have enough gas to, or you don't have enough fees to do this, I'm going to show you how to fund your account. Okay, so do not stress. If it says 0 Ethereum in your wallet, you don't need to worry. Okay, I'm going to show you how to fund it. So before, if you basically, I guarantee a lot of you are going to run into that. Okay, so what you now need to do, guys, is copy your address and go to something called a faucet, right? So I'm going to go ahead and find the one that I use. So you're going to go to Google, type in Rinkeyby faucet, bit of a funky word. Right, so I'm going to show you the one that I like to use, and it's pretty much this one right here. Okay, so it's called, if you go onto Google, type in Rinkeyby faucet, like so, what you're going to see is this request testnet link. Okay, now here you can connect your wallet to the website in the top right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my wallet with, in this case, this website is connected with my other one, so I'm going to switch to this one right here. So now I'm connected with my correct wallet. You can see the wallet is there. I'm going to basically say, send me 0.1 test ETH. I'm not a robot. Yep. And send me whatever the hell this is. All right. So you can untick that if you want. I just want the Ethereum. So click send request. Now what it's doing is it's sending me test Ethereum. Right. So Vercel just says, it says insufficient balance. So yes, a lot of you are going to run into this. Follow these steps to fund your account. Okay. So that is, again, another transaction. So check this out. So right now we have 0.26. Did you see it just increased to 0.36? Right. So I've now funded in my account. Okay. So now we can actually go ahead and do that transaction. So if you did fail at the previous step, just repeat it now. And you can do this as many times as you want to fund your account, right? So you can literally, there's other websites where you can go ahead and give yourself one whole ETH and so forth, right? But this is just a good one to use. Faucets.chain.link. So I'm going to pop this on the screen right now. Awesome link, right? It's very handy to use when you're testing stuff. So with that said, we're going to go back to our dashboard, and you can see we've got the Papa Fam Apes collection. Now, the first thing you want to do is you see this beautiful address here. This is called your smart contract address. Typically, a smart contract, what it means is it's basically a piece of code that lives on the blockchain. So what I want you guys to do now is copy this. So click copy, and I want you to go to your CMS platform. So let's go over to our CMS. So it's this one right here. I'm going to paste that into the address over here. All right, now I'm going to click publish. Awesome stuff. Okay, all right, I'll click publish. So now I've got all my backend pretty much ready, right? So we just need to pull the information from here, and we should be able to do what we need to do. The next thing we're going to do is set up the Thirdweb drop. Okay, so basically, what do I mean by that? Well, what we need now is we basically need to upload our first ever NFTs, right? And we need to create something called a claim phase. So I've saved you a lot of work. If you click create, you can basically add one by one NFT, right? And they also have things called metadata. So if we look at an example of an NFT, you can see here we have a monkey. And if I go to properties, you can see the eyes are chill. The fur is dark gray. The hat, they have no. And shirt, they have no shirt. Okay, so how do we do all of this? Yeah, we've got these amazing properties. Now, it's kind of long to go ahead and do this one by one. Right over here, if I was to do this one by one, I'm just going to go ahead and do something quickly. There we go. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Check this out. We've got the properties here. I don't want to add them one by one. I'm going to save you guys so much time. So what I've done for you guys is I've created all of the assets beforehand to save you all this effort, right? You'll see a Google Drive that pops up, right? This is my view. Yours will be slightly different, but it'll say download. So what you want to do now is go ahead, and you can see you've got 20 different apes in here, right? Starting at 00 for the first one. We've got 01, 02, 03, 04. Now, what we're actually going to do here is we're going to leverage the example.csv file. So I want you to download this whole folder, which is free. I've given that to you guys. And then you want to click on batch upload. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I think it's frozen a little bit. I'm going to go and reload this page. I'm going to click on batch upload, right? Now, you can go ahead and read this out, but I'm going to save you a lot of hassle here, right? What we've done is if you go and check out that Google Drive, right, you'll see that if I open up example.csv, boom, you should see this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just explain how this works. You can see the first one is associated with 00.png. Now, if I go ahead and put this side by side with the actual image, I'm going to go ahead and pop this one up, right? So you can see this ape is a gold ape. It has a sailor hat, red laser eyes, and a black t-shirt. Remember that. If I go over here, example.csv, the first ape, 0, but that's his name that we're going to give it. It's a Papa Fam ape. You can change the description if you want. The shirt is black, the fur is gold, the hat is sailor, and the eyes are laser. And you can go ahead and add more columns in for more attributes if you want to get more granular, okay? And basically we repeat this throughout. And that's how you do a bulk upload, but you have to have the naming convention on point. So these can be PNGs, it can be JPEGs, you can basically mess around with this. So at this point, I want you to download that. Then I want you to go ahead and click drag and drop files or folders here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate that folder, right? So I've actually got that folder in my computer over here. So boom, we've got it over here. So I've found my folder. I'm going to go ahead and select all. So I'm going to hold shift and select everything. So this now says example.csv and then all the PNGs. I'm going to click open. And what you should see here is a beautiful looking upload your NFT screen, and just give it a double check, right? So this ape has gold fur, yep, and it's got the sailor hat, the eyes are laser, black shirt, awesome. This one's a caveman, brown beanie, sleepy, awesome stuff. Looks right. So I want you guys to customize it, do your thing. And this is basically how you can literally add in thousands of NFTs if you want, right? So at this point, we're going to click next. And then here you can see reveal upon mint or delayed reveal. Okay, so this is really cool. Remember, delayed reveal is that awesome feature where you can basically allow people to mint it, but it might show like a placeholder for a while, right? So it could have like your alien is hatching, right? And then when you say it needs to reveal, everyone's aliens get revealed, right? But what we're going to do today is basically just have the reveal upon mint. So you see here it says upload 21 NFTs. So I'm going to click upload 21 NFTs, and this again will be a transaction. So what this is actually going to do is it's going to upload the files to IPFS, which stands for the Interplanetary File System. This is the Web3 way of uploading images, kind of assets on the blockchain. So you should have a pop-up at this point from MetaMask, which is asking you to lazy mint, right? So this is going to cost a gas fee to push these NFTs up. We're going to click confirm. And what this will do now is it will mint, oh, but no, it's not minting, sorry. It's creating the NFTs onto this NFT drop collection, okay? So as you can see, they've now popped in. So if I refresh this page, right, we should see everything. There we go. We've got total supply. We've got unclaimed supply, sorry, of 21. This means that we have 21 NFTs in our project, which currently have no owner. They have not been claimed or minted, right? So basically we're going to set the minting phase tomorrow, but what we now need to do is basically add something called a claim phase. And this is really cool. So if you go add claim phase, you can say, when will this phase start? So I could start it right now. Okay, we could just say start right now. And basically, how much do you want to charge per like NFT, right? So here's where you can put the price. So I'm going to say this is going to be a cheap NFT. So it's going to be 0.01 Ethereum, right? And you can see you can charge any different currency here. We're going to charge Ethereum. How many NFTs will you drop in this phase? Unlimited. Basically, I'm going to drop all of the NFTs in the supply, but you could just basically do like the first 100 to a subset of whitelisted users if you want, right? And then here we're going to say anyone can mint, okay? Or you can do the whitelisting. So if you ever dived into NFTs, this is how they do it, okay? Then what we can do is, how many NFTs can be claimed per transaction, right? So what you could do is you could actually have an option. So somebody might want to buy 3 NFTs from your project. You can allow them to do that if you really want to, okay? You can go ahead, in this case, we're going to say unlimited, and you could have a timer. If someone tried to spam it and that kind of thing, you could basically have a timeout. So if they try and buy, they have to wait like 100 seconds before the next time that they can purchase. Because imagine if you got loads of people, you don't want a whale coming along and just buying all the NFTs, right? So we're going to go ahead and click on update claim phases. Okay, so now we've got our claim phase in action. So this will allow us tomorrow to go ahead and create the minting part. So we're almost there, Papa Fam. Doing damn well. We need to authenticate this action on the blockchain, so that way it's out there, it's actually concreted on there. Notice how all of these things are happening inside of our wallet, guys. So remember, we have full ownership over this smart contract. Okay, that's what I love about Thirdweb. Okay, so there you go. Success, saved claim phases. Okay, awesome stuff. Go to overview. Now we have everything done. So you see total supply is 21. unclaimed supply 21, and you can go ahead and actually look through a bunch of these. You've got the permissions over here, claim phases, embed. This is pretty cool. If you ever just want to have a no code kind of solution, you could just take your code here and embed it into your app, and you can basically start doing things like that. But I'm going to show you the actual way to code it, right? That's the more important way of doing it. And then you can go ahead and you've got these nice code snippets here, which will help you out if you do get stuck. Okay, so make sure you take advantage of this. But at this point, we can go ahead and jump back over to the Next.js app. We're now going to server-side render using Next.js, right? Next.js is going to allow us to server-side render and pull in the Sanity information, which will connect to Thirdweb using its addresses, pull in our collections, right? So it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's do this right now. So at this point, I'm going to go to my homepage, so index.tsx. And essentially what we do is when we have a typical React app, the whole app gets delivered when the user comes to the web page. With Next.js, we have each page gets delivered, right? So it's splitting up the pages. So every time we go to the home page, it's only sending me the home page. But what you can do with Next.js is you can say for the home page, I essentially want you to basically prepare that page every single time it's requested on a separate server with super fast internet and all this other stuff. And when the user requests it, just deliver the entire page, which is ready. So we call this a server-side render. Hence, it's rendered on the server, delivered at once. Really good for things like Google. So that way, when the Google web crawlers come to your website, they don't have to wait around for JavaScript to load and your internet might be slow. Instead, it's done all that hard work on a high-speed server. It's just sent the final page to your app, okay? So let's do this. The way we do it inside of Next.js is very simple. It's per page. So on the index page, so the home page, I want to do something called a server-side render, okay? The way we do this is we say export, and we're going to say const, and we're going to say get server-side props. And this is a special word we have to use, okay? Get server-side props. Now, typically what this is an arrow function, okay? So it's an arrow function which looks something like this, right? Now, typically you get something here called the context, right? This is an argument that we get and it's got a bunch of useful things inside of it. We're going to do something called destructuring and we're going to pull out something called the params, okay? In this case, I actually don't think I need the params. So we don't actually need this in the index, right? So we can actually leave this blank. Now we are using TypeScript, guys. So in this case, when you use TypeScript, you can actually state what a function is, what the props are for that function. So in this case, what I can do is I can put a colon and I can go ahead and type in get server side props. And you guys can see I get these nice little pop-ups. I want to use this one. And what this will do is it will go ahead and it will import get server side props from Next. So now you can see it's telling us, whoa, you're not doing this right. You haven't returned what you need to return. So it's saying you're not actually returning, you're returning like nothing, which is not okay with us. So TypeScript's good at catching out the bugs before you actually execute your code. Okay, so at this point, I need to make a query to my backend. Okay, so in this case, how the hell do I do that? So if we've got our backend over here, so our CMS platform over here, if I go to Vision, we can actually do something called grok querying over here, right? So if I click fetch now, you can see this is actually fetching over the all of the items from the collection type. And what I'm doing is I'm specifying the fields which I should be returning. Okay. So in this case, I'm saying ID, title, address, and so forth. This is just the syntax we have to get used to. Okay, so it's completely fine. Don't stress out. But what we're going to do is we're going to add on to this, right? So I've got a few additional things I actually want to put in here, right? So what I have here is I want to pull in the collection, but I've got the title, the address, the description, but we also have the NFT collection name. Okay, so after this, I have something called the NFT collection name. Okay, oops, let me go ahead and make this nicely indented. So we've got the NFT collection name. Now, if I click fetch, you should see that it will say NFT collection name as well. So NFT collection name, Papa Fam Apes. Okay, awesome stuff. Memo says, my first time in the live stream, awesome stuff. Welcome, dude. Right, and main image, you can see main image has this embedded asset inside of it. So we need to get that out. So if we look at main image, you can see it has an asset inside of it. And this is what we pass to that helper function that we set up earlier. Circle image, same thing, right? We actually have that one here. Actually, no, I'm not using a circle image, right? I'm using a preview image. It wasn't this one, it was preview image. Okay, and then we have the slug, and the slug.current basically represents what is in there at the moment. So that's how slug's laid out. And then we have creator. Now remember, creator was a separate, right? So the creator is essentially the other type that we created. Remember, we had a collection and we had a creator. What we're doing here is we're saying go into the creator with this syntax and get the following fields. Okay, so what I want is I want the ID, I want the name, I want the address, and I want the slug. Okay, this is really awesome stuff, guys. We're doing really well here. Click fetch. Now at this point you should see this information. Okay, and as you can see, it's pulled the creator that is linked to that collection as well. So if I had several different collections, right, it would pop in as an array here. Okay, so this would literally work the same way. So if I go to my actual deployed one with 4 and I went ahead and used the same thing over here and I click fetch, you will now see that I get the 4 results. Okay, so I'm just showing you on a different data set so you guys can see that it does work, right? So you get 4. Okay, so in this case, we've got the 1 over here. So check this out, right? So this is basically working really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this query. Okay, I'm going to go over here. So that's a good way of testing it, guys. I'm going to say const query, right? Const query, and I'm going to use backticks, right? So backticks, not normal quotes, backticks. Okay, and what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to hit paste. So now you can see I paste in my query. Okay, very important step. Okay, so I paste in the query, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that Sanity client. Now notice how this is an asynchronous function, right? So this is an asynchronous function. So where did the query info come from? This came from the input that we done over here, right? So remember this stuff over here? We're basically using their query language to go ahead and actually pull the information from. So all of this was populated earlier when we did that. Okay, so at this point we've got our query over here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say const collections. So I'm trying to basically get this back in our code, right? So I'm going to say const collections equals await. So we're basically going to await for the information, and we're going to say sanity client, right? So sanity client, Sanity client. And at this point, you see it says no suggestions. So it's not helping us out here. It should help us out. But what we need to do here, guys, is we're actually going to do an import, right? So I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to import from the Sanity folder, which is a level up. So you can see it's actually a level up, and we've got the Sanity, where is it gone? Sanity.js folder. Okay, so I'm going to import it from there. So Sanity client. So we're going to say await Sanity client, and inside of here, I'm going to say dot, and you can see we get these set functions. So I'm going to say fetch query. Okay, set fetch query. Now there you go, we get it. So if what I can do to test this out is I can say console.log collections. Right now, what we need to do is basically this will work, but right now it's complaining, saying you're not actually returning anything. So the way that we get this server-side rendered information over to the component, so that way we can show it on the screen, is we return it as Don't Sleep says, is Sunny reading comments? Yes, I am. Right. So what I can do here is I can say return, and I can basically go ahead and put in something called props. So simply, as we use props in our React as we normally would, we're basically going ahead and pushing it through this as the server-side rendered information. So I'm going to pass back the collections that we pull here as props. The way to test this all is I'm going to remove that. I'm going to go up to the top, and I'm going to say that typically we get props come through here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to destructure the props and pull out the collections that I passed through. Okay, now you can see, whoa, it's saying this doesn't exist on type next page. So firstly, we need to get rid of this, right? Because we have our own props that we're going to define. And here you can see it's going to say implicitly has an any type. So TypeScript doesn't like when you don't give it the correct type definitions. Okay, so in this case, I need to basically specify what props are getting delivered here. Okay, so we're going to use a bit of TypeScript now. So what we can do here is I can say interface props. And basically this is a type. So you can either use a type here, right? So it could be type like so, or you can use interface, right? This is basically a TypeScript dive. So I'm not going to go too far into how TypeScript works. But basically what we're doing here is we're defining basically what the expected object here, what the shape of that object is. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say collections is of type collection array. Okay. Now you're probably wondering, well, where the hell did this come from? Right, so now this is where TypeScript magic comes in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create something called a typings file. This is basically where I'm going to specify how the object should look. So at the sanity.js level, I'm going to create a file called typings.d.ts, and this is called a TypeScript definition file. Okay. Now inside of here, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to create firstly an interface which resembles an image. Okay, so this is going to be used for when we actually use our sort of Sanity CMS stuff later on. So remember the image, it kind of pulled through like this. So I'm just going to sort of help us out now by doing that. Then I'm going to do the creator and the collection. So basically, remember the creator and the collection that I have over here. I'm basically specifying what each of these fields look like in code. Okay, so that way we can enforce it. So that way we reduce the number of errors that we experience. So in this case, I'm going to say export interface creator. And here I basically pass in those values. Remember the values that we were pulling in? So remember these, we had the ID, name, slug, and that kind of stuff. I basically enforce it over here, right? So there's a bunch of different types. We've got ID, name, address, slug, and you can see inside of a slug, we have another field called current. And you can see image is resembling this one over here, okay? So we've done the creator. I'm going to do another one. We'll say export interface collection. So then we're going to go ahead and have the following fields here. Right, so we've got basically just specifying what the type that we should expect is. Okay, so you can see main image and preview images are both of type image, so we're saving ourselves a lot of writing by just having this. Okay, so with that bit done, now what we're going to do is go ahead and say someone said, what song is this? It's called Con Man by Tyra Chanty. Amazing stuff. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to my index.ts, and here I'm going to do control spacebar, and I can now import from my typings. So now what we've essentially done is we've told our React component that the prop to expect is a collections of type collection. And now if I was to go ahead and do collections dot, you can see it already knows it's an array, and it would actually know what each item inside that array is because we've gone ahead and prepared it in the correct way. All right, so what we want to do now is show these off on this front page. Okay, so right now our front page looks pretty damn boring, right? It looks pretty dead. On 3000 on one, my one is 3001, yours will be 3000. Ours just looks pretty dead. I think it just had welcome to the NFT drop challenge, right? Or you might have customized it. So what I want to do now, so we've got this over here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the PopperFam NFT marketplace. Remember that header I used previously in the ID file? I'm going to go ahead and copy the header because I like the header. So this one here, the PopperFam NFT marketplace, I'm going to copy the header from that file and pop it in over there because I like that one. Okay. And then we should see the PopperFam NFT marketplace looking nice. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is underneath the H1, I'm going to go ahead and actually start doing this, right? I'm going to basically have a main block, and this is where all the content's going to be pulled through. So main. And here I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to move fairly fast here. Do not stress. If it's too fast, you can always rewind. You can come back. It's okay. We're going to have a div inside here. And inside this div, I'm going to basically do a map. So I'm going to say collections. This is a bit annoying. I'm going to say collections.map. And for every single collection, I'm going to go ahead and let me actually deactivate my Copilot for a second. Let me deactivate. All right, there we go. Because it's kind of interrupting me coding right now when I'm teaching you guys. I'm going to say for every single collection, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to implicitly return. So notice I'm using parentheses here. Yeah? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to return something which is called a link component, right? But first, before we do that, I'm going to return a div. Okay. So a div. And this is going to resemble basically what we have over here. So if you see this here, I'm going to basically build this out to these individual cards. Okay. So on this div, I'm basically going to have a image, and I'm going to have another div next to that image. Okay. So for the source here, I'm going to say it's going to be, I need to use that helper function. Remember the one we used earlier, the created. So the URL for. Okay. So the URL for, I'm going to go ahead and basically, am I pulled it in at the top? Yeah, I have. I pulled it in. So URL for. Now I can basically access the collection's information. So you can see it already knows it's of type collection. So we're going to say URL for, I'm going to say collection.mainImage, right? Collection.mainImage. And notice how when I done dot, look at this, we get all our type definitions. Awesome, right? So Sanity is a framework, don't sleep, yeah, right? So that looks good so far. And then for the image, you can see source, it says image type. Oh, sorry, then I have to do .url. And as you can see, guys, hey, we have our first image pulling in. This is good. I'm going to do class name. I'm going to give this a style. I'm going to say height of 96, width of 60, round the corners to Excel, and I'm going to do object cover. Okay, hit save and bam, we have a card. Looks nice. Inside the next div, I'm going to have a H2, and inside of this H2, I'm going to have the collection title. So collection.title. So I can go down to title, bam. I have the Papa Fam Ape Coding Club. This is sick. It's connected. You can see the genuine excitement when this works, yeah? We've got the P tag underneath that. Here I'm going to say collection.description. 3XL over here, and over on the P tag I'm going to say, I like the fact that, you know, we get these suggestions. It's very good, guys. I'm going to give a margin top of 2 to separate it from the top, text to make it small. Oops, text to make it small. This song's a beat. This is sick. All right, text SM, and then we've got text gray 400. Okay, so look at this, looking pretty sick, right? Looking good, right? So at this point, what I'm gonna do is go to the div over here, and we'll do class name, and here we're gonna go ahead and say flex. So it should go into a row. Remember, flex automatically goes into a row. What I want to now do though is basically say it should be a flex column, right? So flex column, looking good. Flex column, there we go. And here I want to center all the elements. So I want to say items center, bam, goes into the center. Automatically, this is looking so clean already. Okay, now when I hover over it, I want it to be a cursor pointer. So cursor pointer, nice. We get a cursor pointer. You see that, guys? All right. So this is looking way better so far. And then we're gonna basically, I want this hover effect. So I want to have this hover effect. How do I get this? Well, in Tailwind, it's super easy, right? You basically say, I want to transition. I'm just going to apply the transition to everything. So transition all. Then you say duration 200 milliseconds. I'm going to say when I hover over it, I want to scale this scale by 105. Hit save. And if I hover over it, bam, look at that. Looks sick. And look, you see, we've got it here. We've got it here. Nice. Good stuff. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Okay. Now, what I want to do is imagine when we have several different collections, right? So if you have several different collections, I want to basically, right now it's just centering everything. What I want to do is have a grid layout. So this is a part of a challenge for you guys, right? I want you guys to add several more collections, sort of test it out. And then I want you to go ahead and apply the following styles that I'm going to apply now. And if you get it right, boom, that's a part of a challenge for you guys, okay? I'm going to give you the code, but I want you guys to test it and do it yourself, okay? So what I'm going to do is in the outer div, which holds everything together, I'm going to apply some grid styling. I'm going to say it's a grid. Okay, this grid is going to have space between the X components. So space between the X components, and it's going to be 3, right? So everything will be spaced out by 3. On the medium screen, I want it to be a grid with columns 2, right? As we get bigger, I want to go to columns 3. So grid columns 3. And then on the 2XL screen, so the really big screen, I want to go ahead and say grid columns 4. Okay, now what did I just do there? All right, so basically what I've done there is, you see how it's gone to the left hand side, right? This is basically doing this right now. So it's basically saying on the 2XL screens it goes into a 4, on the XL screen, on the large screen it goes into a 3, on the medium screen it goes into a 2, and on the small screen it's a 1. Okay, really cool. All right, so you guys can see us out, right? Awesome stuff. So then what we're gonna do is I need to basically go ahead and I'm going to give it a, let's see what I did here. Right, I'll give it a max width. Yeah, we go. Okay, nice. All right, so for the main component, I'm going to go ahead and say class name. And I'm going to give this a background slate. I like this color, 100. Padding of, let's give it 10. And let's hit save. And you can see already looking pretty nice. I want to give it a shadow XL. Ooh, starting to look snappy. And I'm going to give it a shadow. I'm going to color the shadow. So if you don't know, in Tailwind CSS version 3, they gave colored shadows, which was sick, right? You can say rows 400. So that's kind of intense, right? So if you want to reduce the opacity, you do / I want 20% of that. Ah, that looks nice, right? Very clean, right? So there you go. And but right now it's not got a max width applied. It doesn't look as clean as it should. So I'm going to go to the outer div, all right? And over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a minimum, max width of 7XL, right? So now you can see if it max widths here, then I want to center it. Okay, I want to center it. So what I do is I say MX auto. So margins on the x-axis should automatically be determined. So we get this effect. Awesome stuff. Then I want to go ahead and do, it's a flex box. It's flex column. Okay, looking nice. And I want to say the minimum height should be the screen. Okay. Now what I want to finally do is give it some padding. So padding on the y-axis of 20, padding on the x-axis of 10, and on the extra large screen, so 2XL and above, I want to go ahead and reduce the padding to a 0 because you get that max width restraint. All right, so now you can see on the small screen, looks nice, and then we get rid of the padding when we get to the bigger screen. All right, that looks really clean. Okay, so everything here is looking quite nice, guys. The final sort of finishing touch that we really want to do is where we have the Papa Fam sort of, the H1 being styled here. I want this one just to simply be a margin bottom, right, of 10. Text should be a little bit bigger, so 4XL, and the font should be extra light. We're going to keep it extra light. Cool. Looks a bit bigger. That looks clean. And if you add more, more of the things to it, what's it called? I need to add a little bit of spacing there as well. Yeah, that was it. I forgot to do that. Right, so this div where we've got the text, go to the class name, give it a padding of 5, so that way it has a nice bit of spacing to breathe. Look at all the differences that made, guys. Right, so boom, check this out. Looks really clean, right? Add several collections and get to the point where you can go ahead and show me that. Right, that's basically a challenge for you guys. Okay, so now when I click it, I want to go to /NFT /the slug. Right, so what do? We use something called the link component inside of Next.js, right? So rather than using hrefs, we use a link. So where we have the collections.map, here surrounding our entire div, what I'm going to do is introduce the Next.js link component. So you can see it auto imports from next link, as you can see up here, next link, right? And what we do is we say, give it a href, okay? And the href here, I'm going to use backticks. I'm going to say for string interpolation, /, this should go to NFT / I'm going to use the collection .slug .current, okay? That will give me the current slug. And then I'm going to close it off, right? And you see how it gives me a closing one automatically. I'm going to cut that. I'm going to paste it at the end over here. Hit save. Now, what we have done, Papa Fam, is we've literally gone ahead and made it so that when I click this, it will go to /NFT / my screen. So click this, bow. That's sick. The only thing is that this is loading static information. So I need to server-side render this to make sure it's pulling in the correct information. Okay. And then that way we can test it out so I'm not chatting crap, right? So that's working, right? So we've automatically got our routing done. So we're going to move fast to get this final bit done. Right? We're going to literally be done very soon now, right? So the next thing you want to do is go over to your ID, right? And we're going to do the same server-side rendering over on this side. Okay, so for server-side rendering over here, what we now want to do is we want to go ahead and do a similar approach, right? So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with this. We're going to say export const get server-side props, and basically what I want to do is I want to use the / parameter here, so that wildcard, remember, so we want to use this wildcard, which we actually have in our code as ID. Remember this ID wildcard? We want to use that to basically determine what collection I'm fetching, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and say get server-side props. So I'm going to pull it in like so. I'm going to say equals async, like so. And here, remember we get the context, right? Well, rather than doing the context like so, I'm actually going to basically go ahead and destructure this and get the params. Now I need to go ahead and import this in, so I can go ahead and say next, like so, and that's pulled in our get server-side props. It's complaining because I'm not returning anything yet, so that's fine. What I want you guys to do is basically go ahead and do the following, right? So we need a special kind of query. We need a similar query to what we had before, but I need to use the ID that is basically in the URL to go ahead and actually, give us the value, right? So what we can do here is I want that to be a part of the query. So the first thing I want you to do is take a look at this query. Okay, take a look at this query. This is basically a similar query to what we had before, but we have get the type where it's collection and where slug.current, so slug.current is equal to ID. Now ID here, how do we get from the URL to this ID? And why are we getting the first argument, right? So the first argument is because it will return an array of results. We only want the first one. The second thing is slug.current and this ID. What we have to do is when we make the fetch call, right? So when I actually go to make the fetch call, so if I say const collection equals await sanity client, and that all imported it from the top. When we do this, right, I then basically say fetch, and similar to what I did before, guys, so the query, I passed the query in. The second argument here is an object where you see where we pass in the $ID. That's the key. And what we can do is we can actually assign that a value. So if I give it 123, this value will become where current equals 123. Okay, but what I'm doing instead is inside of params, I can actually get what the URL is. So I can actually get what this value was. So in this case, Papa Fam Apes. So what I do here is I say params, and we're going to conditionally protect ourselves in case it was undefined for whatever reason. It's not going to freak out, right? So params ID, and that will basically now, this is a dynamic query. So basically, depending on what the URL is, it's literally going to go ahead and do this. So absolutely powerful, powerful stuff, right? So if I go to, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, if there was no collection that got returned from it, yeah, we can return something really cool in Next.js. We can return an object which says not found true. And what this does is it returns a 404 page if there was no collection which resembled that NFT, right? So, you know, so if some people try and come on your app and they try and break it, you can prevent that, right? The next thing I want to do is return the props. And then inside the props, similar to what we did before, I'm going to return the collection. Okay, so let's test this out quickly. If I go over here and I type in, let's just type in aliens, right? We should get a 404 now. Oh, it says 404, this page could not be found because we don't have that inside of our collection, right? So inside of here, we don't have aliens. Doesn't make sense, right? Instead, all we have is a collection where one of the slugs is Papa Fam Apes. So let's try Papa Fam Apes. If this works, make some noise and destroy that bloody thumbs up button, right? Papa Fam -apes. Wait for it. It's loading a page. Bow! Done it, right? But this is still static information, but it found a page. Right now, the best part is all we have to do now is make it so that rather than using this static information, it uses the collection that we pass in, right? So remember, the props come in at the top. Okay, props are coming in at the top. So here's where the props come in. We're going to use ES6 destructuring. I pass in the collection like so. And remember, this is where we define the props. Okay, so over here, I'm going to make an interface where we say props, and I'm basically going to say that the prop that we expect is of type collection. Notice how I'm using a single this time, not an array. And I'm going to import that from typings, right? So now you can see this looks kind of cool, right? We've got the collection coming in. Now what I basically do, guys, is I just go in and I basically replace everything where we had it hard coded, and I go ahead and just change that stuff up to basically be the value that I want it to be dynamically. Right, and I'm going to prove to you that it works by changing the images and stuff on Sanity CMS. Okay, so what I can do is I can go over to the image. So firstly, the Papa Fam Ape Coding Club. Okay, so let's see where that is. Right, so Papa Fam this is going to be the collection.title. Okay, then we have the supply over here, right? So we're going to actually change this tomorrow when we do the minting. I'm going to teach you guys how to go ahead and do that. Right, and then we have the minting price and that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you how we can do all of that tomorrow as well, right? But what I'm going to do is the picture is the one that I'm bothered about right now, the image, right? Right now we just use this hard image. I'm going to go ahead and change this to actually it's going to be our special function here. So we're going to actually use for my image here. It's going to be the URL4. So URL4. Remember our handy helper function. And here I'm going to pass in the collection.mainImage.url. Okay, looks really nice. And that's a function, so we have to return that. There we go. Already looking pretty nice, guys. That's the main image. And then we've got, if I go up to my left side, we should have this image. I'm going to change this to the preview as well. Okay, so this one's going to be URL4. And here I'm going to say collection.previewImage. And this is going to be .url like so. Boom. Okay, awesome stuff. Now, if I go over here and I hit refresh, let's just see. I think I've forgotten one thing. I think I've forgotten my description and collection name. So here I have, there we go. Here I have the collection.NFT collection name. And here I have the collection.description. Awesome stuff, guys. All right, it's looking really, really good so far. Now let's check this out. I want to prove to you that I'm not lying, right? So if I hit refresh now, this information is still getting fed through, right? Everything that we expected to see is still here, but now it's being fed through from our OpenSea, right? So I'm going to show you guys and prove this. It's not this one, it was this one. Right, so I'm going to show you the living proof of this. So if I go ahead and say NFT drop is getting pulled in from here, right? NFT drop 123, and I hit publish. Now you can see that a non-developer can come in here and can go ahead and refresh, and you'll see NFT drop 123. Boom! Look at that. We have literally an awesome CMS platform, which is so easy to use, right? You can change the slug. You can change the URL to find yourself at. You can change the images. So if I want to change this preview image to a different ape, I'm uploading the picture now. Let's see this. I'm going to change it to this smart looking ape. Publish. Now wait for it. Document was published. Refresh the page. Next person who comes on, server side render kicks in. Bow! We get the new image. So you can see that literally it's pulling in the information, the address we're going to use tomorrow when we do the minting part, but now it's literally connecting and it's working in the way that we want it to, right? The only thing I want to do now before we finish off for this section today is I want to make it so when you click this button over here, you go back to the home screen, right? So that's very easy, especially from what we've been doing, right? So what we do here is we simply go to our header component. And all we need to do, guys, here is wrap the H1 with a link component from Next.js, which we import. Remember, you import it from the top. And then we basically go ahead and we chuck in. Let's go ahead and take this and wrap it around the H1, hit save, change this to an href. And here we put in / for the home page. Okay, so this will be for the home page. It's going to basically represent, let's have a look. Make sure I've got it all included. Ouch. Right, so let's just see header. There we go. Link / Yep, there we go. Hit save. Now if I click this, I go back to my homepage. Awesome stuff. So now I've got two-way routing. Check this out. Bow, bow, bow. Look at that. Clean. Not only did we just create our first ever NFT drop collection, which is literally real on the blockchain, which we authenticated. We did it all through. We actually made the transaction happen with MetaMask. We went ahead, uploaded all the images, uploaded the metadata. We connected our Sanity CMS backend to our application over here. Looks really great, right? Everything works the way we need it to. And yeah, that's literally absolutely incredible stuff. I'm going to show you two more things, right? So we're going to now deploy. Right. The next thing I want you to do is also experience that you can also deploy your Sanity backend, so that way you can actually access it from elsewhere. So in this case, you see how I've got my Sanity backend over here. Where is it gone? Right, so where we've got our Sanity backend here, which is on localhost, what I can actually do, guys, is deploy this thing so it's actually up on the internet. Right, so what I can do is I can basically cut it from my localhost. So now you can see I won't be running on localhost. If I run it on if I go to my localhost 33333, you'll see that nothing's running anymore. So my Sanity Studio is dead here, right? So instead what I'm gonna do is Sanity deploy. Now what this does is it literally will deploy a version of my Sanity. So in this case, you can do studio host name. Let me give it a name. I can just say something like NFT challenge test, enter, and it will basically deploy it to this URL. And remember, you're gonna have to log in when you go to that URL. So it doesn't just work with anyone, okay? So let's go ahead and do this. And this will go ahead and build it, deploy it, and literally you can access that CMS from anywhere now. And the best and most incredible part really is if you've got one running on your local host and you've got one deployed and you start changing information, guys, the live feature still works, which is like, the guys are sick, right? They made it work. It's really, really cool, right? You can tell I'm geeking out right now because I like good tech, right? So you can see it got deployed to this URL. So if I go over to this URL now, and you can see it says connecting, logging in, and now you can see I have literally access to my backend over here on the internet. So this is a real living, breathing URL, which is literally got access. Not anyone can access it because you have to be logged into my Google account. So you can see that's incredibly powerful, guys. Head over to Vercel, make sure you've got everything set up. Okay, there's going to be 3 changes that you're going to need to do before we commit and deploy our code. Go to your deployment yesterday, and I want you to go into the settings. Okay, go into the environment variables, and you're going to need to add 3 environment variables. All right, you can keep these ticked, basically what you want to do is your first environment variable is going to be this one. It's going to be next underscore public sanity dataset, and the key, the value, sorry, is going to be production. Hit add. Okay. The second one is going to be next public Sanity project ID, and this is going to be the project ID that you used in your project. So I'm going to find my one, which I had in my thing over here. So I'm going to hide my screen for a second, get my project ID. Okay, awesome stuff. So I'm going to paste this in like so. So I got my project ID, and the final one was the Sanity API token. Right, so these are literally all the things which were in my environment variable. This, remember, that's local, so you want to also put it up to your pipeline where you're deploying. So the value of the Sanity API token, I'm going to hide my screen and I'm going to get that from my environment file right now. Otherwise everyone's just going to spam it, right? So boom, get rid of that, hit save, go over there. This is why it's secret, right? So I'm going to add it to that field and hit add. Okay, nice. There you go. So then what I do is I go over to deployments, and this is pretty much ready now. So what I'm going to do now is go back to my code, and all I need to do to trigger a redeployment is, you see I've got 31 changes to my files. Okay, so what I can now do is basically go ahead and if I do cd ... I go up a level, so I can go back up to my my main folder. I'm just going to go ahead and type in git status. You can see I've got loads of files that need to be added and committed to my GitHub repo. I'm going to say give it git add all, and if you do git status again, you can see they're all green now. Git commit -m. You can do it this way, or you can do it over here. It's really up to you. All right, we're basically pushing our code to GitHub now, which will automatically trigger a redeployment. I'm going to say day 3 finished. Enter. Git push. Bam. And we've gone ahead and we've committed and we've just pushed. Now what should happen, right, is we're pushing this to a GitHub repo, which is connected to Vercel. Because it's connected to Vercel, what this will now do is it will trigger a redeployment. Okay, so day 2 is finished, was here, but look, upcoming, day 3 finished. It found it, it's building it. Let's click it. Let's see if this actually does it. Hey, check this out. Wait for it. Wait for it. You guys can see it's gone ahead and deployed successfully. We can click visit the app. So now let's go and head over to our application. Boom, this is live right now, guys. This is live right now. I'm going to show you guys and send this in the chat. Check this out. That's literally live right now. And this is pulling from our backend as well. Right, check this out. So we've got our Papa Fam NFT marketplace. I'm going to click this. Now, when this loads up, right, I want to basically go ahead, and this is connected to this over here. But as you can see, we have a 21 supply with 0 claimed. And as you can see here, what I'm seeing is a little bit different, right? Here I'm seeing 13 out of 21, so that's not correct. It's not pulling the actual numbers in. It needs to basically go to here and pull this information in. But how the hell do we do that? Right, so I'm going to show you guys. It's actually very simple, okay? So don't stress. It's going to be very easy once you go ahead and get this done. So let's go ahead and jump into our code. Command J to hide. First thing I want you to do is we're actually going to go ahead and let's just break it down bit by bit, right? Let's focus on the initial part, which is this right here. I want to basically go ahead and get this amount, right? I want to get the claim supply, the claim supply, so the total supply, and I want to get the number of things which have been claimed, right? NFTs which have been claimed. So first thing I need to do is create 2 pieces of state. Now inside of React, these 2 pieces of state basically are like short-term memory, right? They're basically going to be used to store information and update it in the React way. I've got an amazing YouTube video where you can go ahead and check out all about state in React. It's probably going to be somewhere here afterwards. We'll link it in the video. Okay, const, let's go ahead and do it now. So we're going to say claimed supply, and then in React you need a setter function. So this one's going to be set claim supply. And what we need to do is we need to use something called the useState React hook. Okay. Now, initially, I'm going to give this claim supply just a value of no. Okay. We're going to give it a value of no. Now, in TypeScript, what you can do is you can force this to have a type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is actually a number. Okay. So in this case, you see how it broke? In that case, we've got to say it's actually 0 to start with. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and have the same thing for total supply. So I'm going to say const total supply, and this is going to say set total supply, set total supply. And then I'm going to go ahead and say use state number, and we're going to go ahead and give this a total supply of 0 to begin with. Okay. So those two things we're going to go ahead and just basically try and fetch now, the claim supply and the total supply. How the hell do I do that? Right? So the first thing that I want to do is use something called a use effect. And essentially what a use effect does is when this page loads, what am I going to go ahead and execute on the page, right? So use effects are amazing for that. So here what I want to do is I can get rid of my console log. I can say use effect. And the syntax for this is like this. It's an arrow function where the second argument is something called a dependency array. Now the dependency array here is if we use any variable outside which exists outside of this block, we need to include it here as a dependency. If we go ahead and remove this, it will run on every single re-render. And if we include it with no dependencies, it will just run once, right? So what we're going to first do, guys, is we're going to go ahead and actually get the NFT drop. So before I can even progress with this, I need to actually get this NFT drop. Okay, so there's a very handy function that we can actually pull from Thirdweb, right? So over here where we've got use address, use disconnect, and use MetaMask, I can go ahead and say use NFT drop, right? So very handy hook function, right? So now what I can do is I want to basically go ahead and get my NFT drop. So here I can go ahead and say const NFT drop equals use NFT drop. And remember, we're server-side rendering the collection because of the page that we're loading into. So remember how it loads from this page in a server-side rendered fashion. Okay, so over here at the bottom, we have the server-side rendering portion. So this pulled in the collection. So what we can do here is where I actually go ahead and use get my NFT drop, I can say collection.address. And what this will do is it will point towards my Thirdweb address right here. So this is actually my NFT drop, right? So at this point, we can go ahead and hit save and we have our NFT drop being loaded. Now this has a bunch of information inside of it. This actually gives us, if we go ahead and type in NFT drop, see we get loads of these helper functions now, right? You can go ahead and get a bunch of information from this NFT drop. So we're gonna now use that inside of the use effect to go ahead and do something pretty cool. The first thing we need to do is we need to include it as a dependency because I'm going to include it inside this code block. Okay, so hopefully the pace is pretty good for you guys. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say if there was no NFT drop, right? So if there was no NFT drop, then you should just return from this bit of code. Right, we're trying to protect ourselves. So this is called protective programming, right? Or sort of defensive programming. So the first thing I want to do is say, oh, if there's no NFT drop, we should just stop right here, right? And then what I want to do is I want to basically create a function which is going to fetch the data for claim supply and total supply. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say const, and we're going to say fetch NFT drop data. And the reason why I need to do this is because whenever you need to make an asynchronous call inside of a use effect hook, or sort of a use effect call, yeah, a use effect hook, sorry, you need to do it in an inner function, right? So I'm going to show you why. And that's because of the rules of hooks, right? And I've also got a video on that if you want to go check that one out. So we're slowly covering all the angles, right? So if we go ahead and say equals, and I'm going to do a little arrow function here. So equals asynchronous. And what I'm going to eventually do afterwards is basically go ahead and fetch that call that function. Okay, so now this function I can have async and await calls inside of here, right? So first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and say const unclaimed, okay, equals await, and I'm going to basically make a nice call. Oh, sorry, we're going to do claimed. I'm going to say await, and I'm going to say NFT drop. And what this will do is it's making an API call, right? So let's go ahead and do this. NFT drop dot get all claimed. So here we're going to say get all claimed. Now what this is actually doing, guys, is it's basically saying this call right here is going to go off to Thirdweb. So it's going to go all the way over here, start pulling information, right? Now that doesn't happen instantaneously. So what we're saying is this is an asynchronous call. So it says that this function has code inside of it. So everything inside of here is basically, it can support something called asynchronous like function calls. So it's going to go off in the internet. We're going to say, oh, wait for it basically, right? Wait for that to come back and then give it in the value. So this is actually something called a promise, right? So you can see it says promise over there. So we've got the claimed, and then we're also going to do the total. Okay, so I'm going to say const total equals await, and I'm going to say NFT drop dot total supply. And you can see it's very nice with TypeScript integration. now I've got those two values. What I can now do, guys, is I can actually say this actually returns arrays. So you can see NFT metadata owner array. So I actually want to make this quite simple for us. I want to go ahead and say set claimed supply is equal to claimed.length. Right, and that will actually give me a number, which is basically the claimed supply. I want to say set total supply as total.length. Oops, total.length. There we go. And as you can see here, we've got a clash of something. So let's go ahead and see total supply is returning a big number. So total, we don't actually need to do length, sorry. So if you hover over it, you see after the colon, it says this returns a big number. So that's fine. We can just use total. And here it says big number. Oh, okay, so we actually need to go to our total, and this is actually not a number, it's a big number. There we go. Okay, and and I need to get rid of my value here. Let me see, what is this? This is big number. Oh yeah, I need to import it from ethers. There we go. And we need to start off with an empty value. So big number pulls in from ethers. That's correct. I'm just double checking this for you. Yep. So big number is a format from our Ethereum sort of dependency, right? So in this case, we're going to start off with a value of no. Okay, so we've got our total supply now, and it's correct in accordance with TypeScript. So that way, it's all looking pretty good so far. Next thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to go ahead, and we've already fetched that data. So now I'm going to actually show it on the screen. So I'm going to show you that it's actually real. Okay, so this is actually pretty real right now, and it's not just making this crap up, right? So where we had previously shown on the screen 13 out of 21. So if I go ahead and find my 13 out of 21 here, right? Now what I can do, guys, is I can actually use our dynamic data, the stuff that I just pulled in. I can actually go ahead and use that stuff. So now what I want to do is I want to basically go ahead and say the 13 it will now be the claimed supply. And the 21, remember, it's a big number format, okay? So I'm going to say total supply, and it might not exist because remember, in the beginning, we don't give it a value. So I'm going to protect myself with something called conditional optional chaining. And here I'm going to say to string. So I'm converting that big number to a string, right? So let's go ahead and do this. Hit save, okay? So boom. Right, and let's go ahead and see NFTs claimed. Nice. So if I go back now, hey guys, look at this. 0 out of 21 NFTs claimed. Bam! It's getting it from the correct thing. So this is looking good. Yeah. If we go ahead and hit refresh, now watch this. It says 0, and then you see how it's delayed, right? You see how it's waiting for something. Okay. So this is where I want to introduce some kind of loading logic. So that way the UI looks a bit better than this. Right now it's kind of like, what's happening? Is it a bug? What the hell's going on there? So I'm going to show you how to have some kind of loading interface here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a new loading status, right? So we're going to keep a piece of state for the loading. So I'm going to say const loading, set loading equals use state, and this is going to be a Boolean value. Okay, so you can either define it here, or you can just go ahead and say this is going to be a true, and it's actually inferred that this is a Boolean value, right? You can either let it infer, or you can go ahead and be, extra, pretty extra kind of strict about it and enforce it, right? But here we're going to say it's true. Okay, so in this case, in the beginning, I'm going to say it starts off in a loading state. And what I'm going to do is when we do that fetch, right? So when we do the fetch, I'm actually going to go ahead and at that point, I'm going to set loading, right? So in this case, let's go over to our fetch. And at the beginning of this, I'm going to say set loading to true. Set the loading to true. And only after we've set the numbers, so only after, remember this blocks when it's fetching, right? So it'll wait for these things to come back. It'll set the state, and then I'll say set loading to false. Set loading to false. Okay, so now this variable is basically changing, and it only goes false after it's finished loading. So what we can do now is we can actually use that as a sort of marker to basically tell us if we should show the supply or not. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is where I've got the supply, so where have I got my supply right now? I've got this one here, yeah? So where we have the p tag, I'm going to go ahead and say the following. I'm going to say if we're loading, okay, if we're loading, then I'm going to go ahead and render the following. Else, I'm going to render this. And I need to basically put the things inside of it, right? So if we're finished loading, I'll reach this block. Okay. Otherwise, I'm basically going to go ahead and paste the same thing here. And I'm basically going to, the top one, I'm going to say loading supply count. Okay. So it's going to be a p tag. It's going to say loading supply count ... Okay. So at this point, pretty cool. Okay, this looks pretty good. And we can actually change the color to kind of show you this in action. So we can maybe, what color should we make the loading? Let's kind of make it a, let's actually use animate posts. Let's actually do that. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, so let's check this out. Oh, nice. Look, loading supply count. Wait for it. Boom, nice. That's cool, right? You could do animate pose. You could do animate, jumping up and down. Let's have a look. Let's see animate pose, animate bounce. Let's do animate bounce. Look, loading supply count. Douche. I like that. Yeah. Loading supply count. It looks pretty cool, right? So you can feel free to experiment. I'm going to keep it more subtle because I'm actually going to add in a nice little addition here. So underneath this, I'm going to add in another one. I'm going to say if it's loading, then only then should you render an element underneath it. And I want it to be an image. And this image is going to be a really nice little loading picture, right? So I've actually got this nice little loading thing from Hacker Noon. Okay, so you can feel free to copy this, this URL. It's basically just a picture of a loader. It's just bouncing up and down. So I'm going to go ahead and give this some styling. And I'm going to say this should be a height of 80, a width of 80. And I want it to be object contained. So that way it kind of keeps the aspect ratio in check. I hit save. And now, boom, look at this. Nice. So when it's loading, it'll say loading supply. Oops, let's go ahead and say loading supply count. It's got this nice little loader. And then, pow, comes in. So now it's basically got this loading indicator, right? So this looks, tell me this looks cool, man. Look at that. Now we've got this like little loading, quick little water break while we go ahead and just let that sink in. So that's how you can go ahead and, update the UI, the UX for the user. So that way now it's a lot better of an experience for the user. They're not sitting there thinking, this app's broken. What the hell's going on here, right? Now they're actually seeing this thing looking pretty cool. Now you know what's going on in the app, right? You could be like, oh, okay, I see. This is loading. And then pow, there you go, okay? So now what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to update the button, right? The button, I want to basically go ahead and do the following. So I want to disable this button if two things are happening. One, if it's loading, and two, if the claim supply is equal to this supply. So if this is like 21 out of 21, I want to disable the button. You shouldn't be able to mint anymore, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and fix that up right now. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to our button. And I'm going to say that this should be disabled if the following is true. Okay. So I'm going to say if it's loading, it should be disabled, or if the claim supply is equal to the total supply. Remember, this is a big number. So we have to go ahead and do a number comparison. So to number. Okay. Now that works pretty well. Or I actually want to say if you don't have an address. So if you're not logged in, right? So if you're not logged in, then I also want to basically disable that button because you shouldn't be able to mint if you're not logged in, okay? So at this point, we can see that the UI didn't change. You're probably wondering, Sonny, you did all that work for what? It didn't change anything, right? So the good thing with Tailwind CSS is you can actually add nice little modifiers. We can go ahead and say when the button is disabled, colon, which is a modifier. Basically, we can now go ahead and say, I'm going to change the background color to gray 400. So BG gray 400. Hit save. And now you can see, oh, it's gone somewhere. Where did it go? Oh, it went down here. Oh, yeah. So it shifted down there for a bit. Oh, there we go. That's fine. So here you go. It's gray. It's disabled, but then it didn't change back, right? So something's messed up. Oh, okay. It's because we're not signed in. So if I sign in now, you see it's loading. Wait for it, and then the mint come in, right? So we need to change that basically that text to be a bit more informative now, okay? So I'm going to do two things. Firstly, we're also going to get the dynamic price from our project. So I'll get that afterwards for you as well. But for now, what I want to do is change this text so we can have a few options on it. Now, bear with me here because this one's going to be a little bit of a tongue twister, right? So we're going to say if it's loading, right, we're going to have a ternary. We're going to say this, if it's loading, it should show this, or it should show this. The first thing I want to do, if it's loading, I'm just going to say it should say loading. And we've got empty parentheses there, right? So these are just React fragments. And then I'm going to say, otherwise, it should go ahead and check for something else. Now, this is kind of frowned upon, but you can kind of refactor this if you want. We're going to say claim supply. If the claim supply is equal to the total supply to number, basically I'm saying here, if you've basically gone ahead and you've sold out of the collection, then we can go ahead and render the sold out word. Okay, so here I can say sold out. So I've got like ternary after ternary, and then we've got another one. I'm going to say otherwise, if there's no address, it should show the following. So we're going to say sign in to Mint. Okay. Otherwise, the final one is going to be Mint NFT, right? And this one should be in a span. We're going to do a span tag here because I want to style this one up a little bit. This span, oops, span. There we go. And I want to just paste this in like so. Boom. Hit save. Now you can see we've got a loading indicator. You can see it will basically go ahead and reflect. If I sign out, it'll say loading, and then it will actually say sign in to Mint. There you go. If I sign in, it starts loading, and wait for it. There you go. Nice. Conditional renderings are pretty awesome, right? Guys, smash that thumbs up button if you're enjoying this right now, right? It's gonna help the video reach more people. Okay, so I want this video to help as many developers in the world as possible. So once it's got that ready, I'm gonna go ahead and say font should be bold. So let's go and make it bolder. So there you go. It should be bold in a second. Awesome stuff. And now what I want to do is get the price, right? So this price. So you could go ahead and add in this, you know, in the same use effect, but I'm going to show you just as an example that you can have two use effects, and that's completely okay to do so. If you want to ever do that, I'm going to show you that you can do that. So use effect, I'm going to have a second use effect. And again, the use effect sort of looks like something like this. The dependency in this case is the NFT drop. Okay. And what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm basically going to go ahead and say const fetch the price. Right. And this is going to be an asynchronous function. So asynchronous function, because we're going to do a fetch across the internet. We're going to say fetch price. And over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, remember, at the beginning, I'm going to say if there's no NFT drop, return. Okay, so just protective coding, right? Defensive. And I'm going to say const claim conditions. Now, you're probably wondering, what is that? Well, claim conditions are actually for the claim phases. So remember when we actually set up our project and we actually went to our settings, where was it? We set up a claim, where'd it go? Thirdweb. Okay. Is it this one? Or have I changed it? Let's go ahead and reconnect to our project. Let's go back here, wait for it. Remember when we set up the, okay, let that load. That's fine. All right, while that's loading, we can go off thing. But basically, remember when we set up the claim phase, right? That claim phase is essentially going to be purely for basically determining how much it's going to cost and that kind of thing, right? When we drop it. So, and I'm just as a point here, I'm going to finish this off and I'll say something. Await NFT drop dot claim conditions. And the first, basically, we're going to get all the claim conditions, right? So you could at this point map through if you've got several claim conditions, but I'm going to keep life a little bit simple. Now let's just double check why this isn't connecting. Let's just see what's going on here. Dashboard. So many people are using Thirdweb. There we go. Papa Fam Apes. Let's go into here for a second. Oh wait, no, my second one. Let's go into this one. There we go. Claim supply. Here we go. Claim phases. Right, this one. This is what I was talking about. Claim phases. Remember, you can have several. Hence why it's going to be come back as an array. So get all. Right. So in this case, all you could do get active. You could do get active as well. Right? I'm going to do get all for now. But then what we're going to do is set price in ETH. So I need to go ahead and create a price. So I'm going to create a piece of state to keep track of the price. So I'm going to say price in ETH. And I'm going to say set price in ETH. You could do set price and then you can actually take in whatever metrics that you're charging in and pull that from the API. I'm going to keep it simple for this one. This is going to be a string, okay, that I'm going to render, because it's Ethereum price. And then here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say set my price in ETH to the following. I'm going to say claim conditions. I'm going to say this could be undefined. I'm going to go to the first one inside of it, right? So the first claim condition, so phase one. And then what I'm going to do is say get the currency metadata and display a value. Okay, so I've done the hard work for you. I found this for you. So it's actually very easy to do it, okay? So in this case, this will get me the price, right? So this price right here will actually say the price in Ethereum, right? So if I go ahead and just show you guys that I'm not chatting absolute rubbish, I can go to my mint and you see here, right? Rather than just having 0.01 ETH, yeah, what I could do now is I can go ahead and actually have price in ETH, like so. Okay, hit save. And if we go back to my code now, you can see once this is done, it should say 0.01 ETH. Right, and that's actually the one that's coming from our backend. So if I change this to 5333, for example, you'll see that that's actually the one there. Wait for a second, boom, right? So if I change it back to that number price in ETH, that's coming from the back end. So pretty much that's being pulled from our claim phase over here. So if I was to update the claim phase now, it would change that price and it would actually go ahead and do it. Okay, so we've actually got the price down as well. So at this point, the UI is essentially done. Now we need to implement the minting phase, and we're going to implement React Hot Toaster, okay? So first thing we're going to do is actually build the mint functionality. So let's jump straight into that without further ado. So what I'm going to do is create a little helper function at the top of our page. So above the user effects, I'm going to go ahead and create a function, or we could chuck it underneath the user effects. I like to keep things neat. Let's go under our user effect, and I'm going to say const, and we're going to call this literally the mint NFT function. Okay, this is going to be a regular function, and what this is going to do is it's going to get fired off when I press that button. Okay, so at this point, when I click mint NFT, I'm going to go ahead and actually execute this function when I press that button. Okay, so let's go ahead and connect this one up firstly. So where I have all that kind of nice button logic, I'm going to say on click of the button, we should mint the NFT. Done. Okay, now what I'm going to do is go back to my mint NFT function, and when we click it, I want to basically do the following. I want to say my NFT, where is it gone? NFT drop. Remember that little drop that we basically got from that special hook? That's got a lot of cool stuff associated to it. All right, so in this case, what we can do is we can say claim to. Okay, now this is the powerful part. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, before I do any of this, you see how we might have to conditionally chain because NFT drop may be undefined. So again, we're going to do some conditional programming. I'm going to say if there is no NFT drop or there is no address. So if you're not signed in or there's no NFT drop, we're going to return. Okay, so that's going to be the because we're going to need the address, we're going to need the NFT drop. So we're going to basically defensive ourselves. Then what I'm going to say is quantity. Right, so I'm going to leave this one to you guys, but basically this resembles how many unique NFTs that you want to claim. Right, so this is basically standing for how many unique NFTs you want to claim. So you could actually, if you want to, I'm going to leave that as a challenge. You could go ahead and have a little sort of a button next to it which says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can go ahead and increment, decrement, and allow people to go ahead and buy like 3 NFTs if they want. Right, so I'm going to let that up to you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say NFT drop. Okay, and I'm going to say .claim to, and basically I need to pass in 2 things. The first thing is the destination address. This is the address that we're logged in as. So we already got that earlier. The second thing is the quantity. Okay, so the quantity. Once that's done, guys, this is known as a promise. So this will actually trigger off a, it's going to basically pop up my MetaMask wallet, do a bunch of stuff. Once all of that's done, we say .then. Okay, so this is basically going to allow us to go ahead and handle the operation after it's done. Okay, so we're going to say .then, and this gives us back something called a callback function. Okay, so what we can actually get, what we get back is we get the transaction data. So I'm going to say the transaction data that we get back, so TX is an asynchronous function. So this is actually just an arrow function, think of it that way. And what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and actually just at this point you get a few things, right? And I'm not actually doing much with this right now, but you can do the following. Okay, you can actually go ahead and get the receipt, you can get the claimed token ID, you can get the claimed NFT. So if you really want to, I'm going to leave this as part of a challenge. Once you've minted, you can make your NFT that you minted pop up. So I want you guys to, I'm going to leave this one as a challenge. The claimed NFT, the data here, actually has the data from all the attributes and all that kind of stuff, including the image URL of the NFT that you actually minted. So I'm going to leave that to challenge and see who can actually do that one, okay? So just to go ahead and help yourself out, you can console log them if you really want to, or you can go ahead and console log it out. But the point is that here we want to have some kind of notification, okay? So I'm going to console log when we've done this. Now, if anything went wrong at any point, I want to have an error message, okay? So what we can do is we can catch the error message. We can say, whenever there was an error, what do I do with the error, okay? So here I'm going to go ahead and say we should console log the error, right? So I want to see what the error is. And eventually we're going to replace these console logs with something like React Toaster, okay? Now, what you can do is you can say, finally, you can do any action, right? So basically, regardless if it failed or succeeded, you can go ahead and do a final call, right? So what I'm actually going to do here, guys, is I'm going to set the loading indicator, right? So what I'm going to do is in the beginning, right? So right before all of this, I'm going to set loading to true. Okay, so I'm going to set loading to true. And then, so when I start the minting, and then afterwards, regardless if it was successful or failed, I'm going to set the loading to false. That way my loading indicator kicks in when it needs to. Okay, so let's check this out. And what we should see is after, if I click mint, it should allow me to mint. And then what we should see is it should do the whole mint process, and we should see the minted NFT in the logs. Okay, so if this goes well, then we're doing incredible because it was the first time, right? So I'm going to open up my inspector. So you can go ahead and right click and click inspect, go to your console. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clear my console, and you can see mint NFT. So if I click mint NFT, you can now see it says loading. Okay, so let's go ahead and see. Now what we should have is something pop up inside of our MetaMask. So give it a second. Oh, okay, you see the claim came through. Nice. Remember, there's two things which could happen here. One, you may not actually have enough Ethereum in your address, so you may need to go ahead and top it up with the faucet. There was a tutorial on that yesterday, but just literally Google Ethereum faucet, so F-A-U-C-E-T, and you can go ahead and get it. And this is the Rinkeyby network, so you don't have to use real money. Let's go ahead and, oh, I've took too long. Let's click confirm. And now you can see it's minting, right? So this is where it would be minting on the Ethereum network. So if we go ahead and inspect it, right, you can actually see the claim is pending. So it's trying to mint on the actual blockchain. It's trying to say you are claiming an NFT from the project. Oh, okay, the claim was done. Boom. There we go, guys. Here you can see we've got the receipt. We've got all the receipt, literally the blockchain, all the details about the blockchain transaction and everything like that. We've even got the NFT itself. So you can see the metadata, guys. Look at this. So what I want you to do is use that metadata, make a pop-up, make something happen on your page that looks beautiful. But you can see the properties, like laser, gold, sailor, black, We've got all this stuff. Awesome stuff. Let's go ahead and see if that was real. Let's go to OpenSea.io. So you can go to OpenSea.io. Let's go to our profile and let's see if we did this right, guys. So let's go ahead and do this. Whoa, there it is, guys. Papa Farm Apes version 2. Oh ho, there you go, guys. If I click into it, you can see there's one item in there, which is me. And if I go down here, you can see now a minute ago it was minted. That's it, to me. Awesome stuff. And you can see the properties here as well. So that's literally a mint. It literally just worked like that, right? That's amazing, right? So this is so cool, guys. Works and everything, right? At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to actually sort of upgrade this, right? Because remember when we did it, the problem was that you didn't know it was actually minting, right? And nobody's going to have their console log open, right? At this point, you can refresh and you can go ahead and see that it will say 1 out of 21 NFTs claimed. So I want to have a kind of a toaster pop up. Right, so you can see one I've claimed, and if we go over here now and we go to the overview, we can actually see if I refresh this page, it will say 1 claim supply out of there we go. Where's it gone? Papa Farm Apes. Have I connected to a different one? Let's have a look. Papa Farm Apes C7, and the one that I'm messing with was I think it was this one. Yeah, claim supply. There we go. I just need to refresh it. You can see claim supply 1, unclaimed 20, total supply 1. There we go. Awesome stuff. 21, sorry. Okay, so at this point, let's go ahead and introduce something pretty cool. I want to have those nice little toaster notifications pop up and say, you know, hey, you're minting and all this kind of cool stuff. So what I'm going to do is go over to reacthottoast.com. I'm going to show you, not reacthottoast.com. I'm just going to Google it. I'll show you over here. Oh, it's reacthottoast.com. Wow. Okay. If you click make me a toast on the website, you see we're going to introduce one of these bad boys into our app. Okay, so at this point, to install this, you need to go ahead and add it to your project. So yarn add React Hot Toast. I'm going to go over to my project, Command J. I'm going to pull this one over to the side and do yarn add React Hot Toast. Okay, awesome stuff. This will add it into our project. The next thing I need to do is basically add the toaster component into my app. Okay, so this is basically, it just needs to sit somewhere inside of your code. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to where I start rendering out my components, and I'm just going to put it on the top. Okay, I'm just going to put it on the top. Just going to go over here. So a toaster, right? And if I go over to the end of my component, control spacebar, okay, my IntelliSense didn't kick in, but I'm going to show you basically the things that we need to import from this dependency. We are importing toast and we're importing toaster. This is a default import and this is a explicit import. Okay, I'm not going to go into what they mean, but there you go. Right, and what we're going to do is we got toast and toaster. So now what we're going to do is render the toaster. So there you go. And we're not going to see anything on the screen right now because we're not actually executing any notifications. But I'm going to say the position of this one should be on the bottom center. Right, you can actually do this by control spacebar and you can see all the different options, but I'm going to do bottom center here. Okay, nice. So at this point, we now need to basically start calling the toast, right? So you say toast hello world, and that is what makes the hello world kind of thing pop up. Okay, so I'm going to show you, they've got loads of different examples, right? You can literally mess around with it. They give you the code examples, all this kind of stuff, but I'm going to just make your life easy. Okay, so what we're going to do is in our mint token, in our mint NFT section, I'm going to basically have the following. Where I say set loading is true, I'm going to go ahead and say something like this. Let's go ahead and say I'm going to say I'm going to programmatically control a notification. So not only do I want it to pop up, but I want it to say minting, and then I want to dismiss it only after all the minting stuff's done, right? So how the hell do I do that, right? So what I do is I say const notification. This will give me a reference to the toast that I'm about to create. I say toast.loading. Okay, and what I do is I give this a name. So I'm going to say this name is going to be minting ... Okay, and I can go ahead and put a comma here and give it a bunch of options. So here what you can do is you can pass some style properties into it. I want the background of my my toaster to be white, and I want a few other changes. I want the color green, the font weight bolder, and a few different changes. Okay, so font size and padding. Okay, so this looks kind of cool, and basically I want this notification to be dismissed when regardless of if my NFT claim or mint goes is successful or fails. So in the finally call, what I can do is I can actually go here and I can say toast.dismiss, and I can pass in the notification reference. Right, so basically that's going to dismiss regardless if it was successful or went through. The next thing I can do, we're going to do this all in one, and we're going to test it. And if it works, I want you to destroy the thumbs up button. Okay, right. So at this point, when we do then, this is when the successful part should happen. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say toast. I'm going to say hooray, 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 ... You successfully minted, and you guys feel free to do whatever you want here, right? I'm going to pass in some styling properties. I'm also going to say duration should be a little bit longer for the hooray part. Okay, so I'm going to pass in a duration, and for the style, I'm going to say it should be green with a few of the styling properties mentioned earlier. Okay, now if there's ever an error at any point, I want to do the same thing, but I want to say, whoops, something went wrong. So what I do here is I say toast, and I go ahead and say, whoops, ... oops, ... something went wrong. I like this song. This is kind of like a Silicon Valley vibe, right? So I'm gonna say something went wrong, and then do this. If you haven't seen Silicon Valley, you have to watch that show. It's awesome, right? And then I'm gonna say style. It's a proper coding show. I'm gonna say the background should be red, the color should be white, and the padding should be 20 pixels. Boom, hit save. And now, guys, I'm going to test it all in one. If this works right off the bat, wow, that was a smooth bit of coding right there, right? So we've got our toast notification, which is going to pop up when it's loading. That's going to get dismissed regardless if it was true or false, or basically if it was successful failure. And then if it was success, we're going to see another notification saying you successfully minted. And if it was a failure, we're going to say, whoops, something went wrong. And I'm going to show you how to demo both of them right now. Let's check it out. Oh, good timing for the music as well. Look at that. Just things come together, right? All right, so I'm going to click on mint and wait for it. Boom! Minting. Hey. All right, nice. There we go. I need to say minting NFT. I just wrote minting, but there you go. Okay, nice. It pops up. Let's go ahead and click on confirm. And you can see now, at least I'll use the nose. All right, still minting. We can wait for it. Wait for it, guys. Patience. But see, at least you've got things to look at. You can be like, oh, okay, it's doing something. And then you're probably focused on this while this is happening. It makes you feel like it's not so long. And then wait for it. Bow! Hooray, you successfully minted. There we go, guys. Look at the UI on that. It just makes such a difference. Honestly, it makes such a difference. I'm going to show you how to check the failure one. I think it would work. I'm not sure. Okay, we can actually just know that if the hooray worked, the failure will work as well. But typically you can test it if you do you try and mint and if you haven't got insufficient funds, or if you try and cancel it or that kind of stuff. So if I just cancel at this point, yeah, you can see, whoops, something went wrong. Okay, so if I cancel it, you can see, whoops, something went wrong. Awesome stuff. There we go. Looks sick. Right, so there we go. We've got the minting functionality done, the fetch price done, and we literally have our UI being updated and pulling details from Thirdweb. This is crazy, guys. So if I go ahead and refresh this right now, right, I'm going to go into my project. There will be a claim supply of 2 in just a second. It's probably uploading. So if I go into my Papa Fam apes, there will be another ape. The resolution of the picture is slightly different, so I'm pretty sure it might come up as smaller. There you go. Right, I just uploaded 2 different pictures, that's fine. But here you can see we've got 1 ape, 2 apes, right? So you can see there are 2 apes in this project. And the really cool thing is it literally comes up the perfect way on OpenSea, right? So if you go to items and you click on, if you click on one of these, you will now see all the details around it. And it's literally a real living, breathing NFT, right? So you guys have literally learned how to go ahead and you know, create your own NFT drop collection, server-side render in Next.js, style up a beautiful responsive app that works on websites and phones, mint your own NFTs from that page, so that way you can actually start making money from NFT projects. That's pretty damn cool. That's pretty damn cool. I wish I could have seen that earlier. Right, this literally is working. We've done it all, guys. With that, I think we are literally done for the build. If I can't think of anything else, I think we have literally done the actual build. We actually smashed that. So let's go ahead and see what we did. We have our homepage, right? This is connected to our Sanity backend, right? This is actually my other Sanity CMS backend. So this isn't the one. I've got the actual app running over here. So this one. All right, so you can see this one is pulling from our Sanity CMS. You guys learned how to do Sanity CMS. You guys learned how to server-side render the results. You learned how to query the Sanity CMS backend using the Grok query language. You learned how to create your own Thirdweb NFT drop. There you go, it got updated. You learned how to create your own claim phases. You know, learn how to do whitelisting, all that amazing stuff, set up royalties, all that batch uploading cool stuff. You learned how to do it in these 3 days, right? Then you've gone ahead and actually connected it to your front-end app. So if you go and click into our project, you can go ahead and see it will load up your supply account. So not only did we make this work, we made the UI beautiful. It literally is responsive, looks amazing. We've got the full minting functionality and capabilities of our app. This is the other project, hence why I said 15. It can actually go ahead and do real blockchain interactions. This is crazy, guys. For the amount of code that we wrote, just like, what? The amount of power that you have at your disposal here. And what we're doing here is, it seems like this is too simple to be true, but really what we're doing is we're learning the fundamentals well. We're learning how to use Next.js. We're learning how to use React. We're learning how to use Tailwind to build responsive sites. And then we're layering it with amazing things like Thirdweb, like Sanity, to power up the backend, to power up the Web3 facilities. And we're doing this in the correct way. And when you put all these things together, it just seems like, well, that was really simple. But in reality, this is your skill coming through. This is what you're capable of, guys. This is what you just need, the right community to tap into that. So this is literally what's been possible in these few days. You've been able to build your first NFT drop collection, Next.js server-side rendered app. Drop this on your resume, update your resume, show this off to the entire world, push this out. Tell everyone that you just done your own NFT drop collection, just like that. And you built the website that it's hosted on. That's a flex. That's a flex. Look at that, guys. Amazing, amazing stuff. Okay, so to deploy this, all I need to now do is go over to my code. I simply go ahead and do git add all, git status, check that my files are correctly updated. Then I do a git commit. I'm going to say day 4 minting done, git push. This will trigger a rebuild on Vercel. Okay, so Vercel will now see this as a rebuild being done, and then it will go ahead and redeploy. Okay, let's go ahead and see. We've got our NFT. So you see day 4 minting done just now via GitHub. This will go ahead and deploy the build. There we have it, guys. You just built your first ever NFT drop DApp. It was an incredible experience. You learned how to go ahead and allow users to mint from your NFT drop collection and actually have it on their own wallets, so that way they could view it on OpenSea and even trade your different NFTs. After today's tutorial, you should be more proficient in React, Next.js, Tailwind. You should be on your way to building better, more beautiful websites than ever before. And remember, guys, when you use Thirdweb today, hit the first link in the description so that way you can support the Papa Fam and you can sign up without any problems. It was Thirdweb that made today's video entirely possible. And remember, they are an incredible platform and allow you to carry out a huge range of Web3 deployments in the easiest fashion I have ever seen across any of these Web3 platforms. For that, they get my thumbs up, and I'm going to be using them in future builds to come. And with that said as well, if you enjoyed this video, we'd appreciate you just to take a second, hit that little like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that way you don't miss any of these videos coming out in the future. With that said, this is your boy Sunny, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.